Chapter 1423. The final level of the Level 81 Apotheosis Altar was a full-powered attack from the god's war soul. The power of the first level was already so terrifying. Half of the 1,009-star true immortals, the most outstanding true immortals of the human race, were sent flying. Hold on. Hold on for as long as you can. Someone shouted. Just as this person finished speaking, he spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. The remaining half of the true immortals could not hold on for more than 2 seconds. If not for the god's war soul, they would have been killed instantly. However, after being weakened by the 1,000 true immortals, the power of the god's war soul's attack was reduced to 30%. But the moment the ferocious spiritual power was about to attack Lu Qin, the spiritual power suddenly became abnormally violent. It's the effect of the heaven's godly power. Gu Ying and the rest became nervous. A god could control the fate of mortals. With the heaven's godly power, the power of exorcism increased tremendously. Now, it was finally Lu Chen's turn to take on the attack. Qian Ji felt like dying when he saw the 100,000 times damage coming towards him. Why did he have to suffer like this? However, he still moved his body. The 4 earth puppets activated their combined skill, Immemorial Earth Shield. The Immemorial Earth Shield could disperse the opponent's attack to the ground, which was the stairs of the Apotheosis Altar. After 3 seconds of stalemate, the Earth Golem could no longer hold on. "Oh no, my earth puppets are going to fall apart," Qian Ji cried. At this moment, a blurry figure flashed past Qian Ji and a dark red spear landed on the exorcist. Void Attack Void Destroyer Spear, Heavenly Rage Spear. Back off. Lu Qin shouted. The earth puppets quickly backed off. The 2 terrifying spiritual energies collided at this moment. A ring was activated in the middle of the Apotheosis Altar. It exploded in the universe like a planet being destroyed. A moment later, people saw the man in the Pisces suit land steadily on the ground. He passed. Gu Ying opened his eyes wide. Oh my god, that guy took the god's war soul's attack head-on? Mad God is too scary. That's 100,000 times damage. Lu Qin gasped for breath and looked at his trembling left hand. The collision just now was too violent, and it shook his left hand until it was somewhat numb. However, this was the weakest test after all. The attack of the deity war soul could not reach the true strength of a deity. Otherwise, the celestial prime would not be able to enter the 8th heaven. On the Level 81 Divine Seal Altar, if every level increased by 1%, then the first level was only a fifth of the final level. After being weakened by 80%, even if it was 100,000 times stronger, Lu Chen would still be able to block it. Of course, those true immortals who were assisting him played a huge role in being able to withstand this attack. Seeing Lu Chen withstand its attack, the statue no longer attacked. Expressionlessly, it turned to the side and opened the path to the 2nd level of the Divine Seal Altar. You can cultivate here for a maximum of 10 years, or you can continue to challenge it. Lu Qin directly stepped onto the 2nd level of the Divine Seal Altar. Mu Long rushed out from the crowd and pulled Lu Qin back. Lu Qin, aren't you going to rest? Lu Qin shook his head. I don't have much time. I can withstand this level of attack. Let's go to the next level. On the 2nd level of the Divine Seal Altar, there was a dwarf deity in front of Lin Fan. However, he was only shorter than the other deity statues. He was about 4 to 5 meters tall and looked quite sturdy. The 2nd batch of helpers quickly stood in front of Lu Qin, forming the first line of defense. It was also the most important line of defense to weaken the deity war soul. Then, it was Qian Ji and the other 4 puppets, Divine Skill, Sky Battle Axe. A terrifying spiritual power suddenly blasted into the support team. We must block it. The more we block it, the less pressure Mad God will face. Everyone knew that the first line of defense was very important. Moreover, this batch of true immortals was stronger than the previous batch. However, none of them could withstand the Sky Battle Axe for more than 2 seconds. However, they had also weakened the attack to the greatest extent. From the strength of the spiritual force, it has been weakened by 70%. Gu Ying frowned. This result was already very good. However, he also knew that the next 100,000 times stronger attack would be even more terrifying. Under Qianji's lead, the earth puppets could only block half of the attack. However, this time, Lu Chen did not directly clash with the sky battle axe. God-slaying spear, reverse soul roaming dragon. Lu Chen directly used reverse soul roaming dragon to negate most of the attack. This level was even easier than the first level of the divine seal altar. Feng Wu frowned. Lu Chen should have used reverse soul roaming dragon just now. Mu Long said. He wanted to confirm the strength of the opponent's attack. Now, it seems that he has already figured out the strength of the opponent's attack. If he used reverse soul roaming dragon now, he would be more confident. Gu Ying looked at Mu Long. This guy's analysis was quite good. Mu Long, right? I am Gu Ying. Gu Ying, Mu Long has heard of Sengoku's great name. Thank you, Gu Ying, for your help this time. Since Gu Ying, Sengoku, and Lu Chen are friends, then you are also my friend. If you need my help in the future, just let me know. Mu Long said. Gu Ying smiled. I knew it. With Lu Chen's personality, it would be strange if he did not have any friends. Brother Mu Long, you don't have to be so polite. The two of them seemed to admire each other. Moreover, they were both Lu Chen's friends. There was a sense of closeness between them. They also exchanged contact details. At the same time, Lu Chen had already passed through 9 levels. When he reached the 10th level of the Divine Seal Altar, the mermaid god's strength had increased tremendously. With one move, Wrath of the Sea God, he sent all the support troops flying. This guy seems to have undergone a small qualitative change. Lu Chen immediately realized. This time, the support troops had only weakened the damage by 50%. The earth puppet could no longer help Lu Chen block the damage. Lu Chen immediately recalled the earth puppet. Tiger descends the mountain. Attacking the void, Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. After weakening the opponent's attack with thousands of sword chi, Lu Chen used reverse soul roaming dragon. The moment the god-slaying spear collided with the opponent's sword chi, Lu Chen felt an overwhelming pressure. He tried his best to twist the god-slaying spear and finally diverted the force. The sword chi changed direction and blasted onto the Divine Seal Altar. Only the Divine Seal Altar was made of some unknown material that could withstand such an attack. However, the surging aftershocks still spread out in the starry sky. For a moment, the wind raged, and the support troops could not help but retreat. The mermaid god glanced at the person who blocked Wrath of the Sea God and stepped aside. A mortal human emperor can actually reach the 9th level. Interesting, you can cultivate here, or you can continue to challenge them. Lu Chen took a deep breath and adjusted the restless spiritual power in his body. Starting from the 9th level, the damage had increased by another level. The following challenges would definitely be more terrifying. Lu Chen wiped a drop of blood from the corner of his mouth and snorted. This is only the 9th level. It's still early. After saying that, Lu Chen resolutely walked to the next level. Chapter 1424. 9th level, 18th level, 27th level. Lu Chen's pressure began to increase. However, Lu Chen did not stop. On the conferred god altar, Lu Chen crossed one step after another. The human deities were the weakest among the 10,000 races, but they used all their means to help Lu Chen become a god. It's hard to imagine that Lu Chen can still hold on until now under 100,000 times the power. This guy's strength has already surpassed the 7th level, Gu Ying said. Mu Long also said, if not for the heavenly divine power, Lu Chen might even be able to fight with a god. Gu Ying shook his head. Brother Mu Long, you're too idealistic. Since the heavenly divine power exists, this is the ability of a god. There's no such thing as if. His future path will only be more difficult. Mu Long's expression was solemn, and he felt that it was unfair for his brother. The heavenly divine power is too overbearing. Unless Lu Chen can activate an ability comparable to the heavenly divine power, his enemies are too terrifying. As he spoke, the level 48 God War Soul Sword energy swept towards Lu Chen. Tiger descends the mountain. Void attack, Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. Void attack, suppressive fire. God's Descent, Void Destruction Spear, Reverse Soul Roaming Dragon. Now, it was not so easy for Lu Chen to block the God War Soul's attack. He used a large number of strong attacks to weaken the opponent's attack, dodged the attack with his movement technique, and finally used the Reverse Soul Roaming Dragon. This set of moves flowed smoothly without any hesitation. In terms of combat, Lu Chen could be said to have reached perfection. Level 45 conferred God Altar, passed. Lu Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stepped onto the next level. After an unknown amount of time, there were only 1,000 people left in the supporting army. This also meant that Lu Chen had reached the last level of the conferred God Altar. Although this was the final step of the Divine Seal Altar, the 81 level of the Divine Seal Altar increased one's strength step by step. Since Lu Chen was able to resist the 80th level of the Divine Seal Altar and even had the strength to continue fighting, then by all reasoning this final step shouldn't be a problem at all. Gu Ying and Mu Long, the two Sengoku, had arrived. This time, they would help Lu Chen withstand the final blow. Gu Ying turned around to look at Lu Chen. Lu Chen's eyes were bloodshot. He ignored Gu Ying. Since the first few stages, Lu Chen had already entered the inner demon state so that he could activate the Great Void form as soon as possible. Under Lu Chen's bloodthirsty state, he had already expended a lot of energy to control his mind. Solitary Shadow had a lot to say, but unfortunately, now was not the time. Solitary Shadow whispered, "Lu Chen, you've already done your best in the previous floor. However, you don't have to worry. The attacks on this floor are only slightly stronger than those on the previous floor. Moreover, our helpers are also stronger than those from before. You should be able to hold on." Lu Chen might not be able to hear what he was saying, but this did not affect Gu Ying from bidding farewell to his good friend. "I wonder what kind of title you will get. It will be difficult to see you in the future. Brother, take care." After saying that, Gu Ying turned around and stared at the last deity War Soul. He shouted, "Everyone, we can't help Mad God with this final blow. We will never be able to repay Mad God's kindness. This time, we will help Mad God with our lives. Mad God will definitely pass this time. Everyone, let's work harder." Mu Long took a deep breath, and a trace of reluctance flashed across his eyes. "Lu Chen, I know you have to go on. However, if possible, remember to come back and visit your old friends. This is all that I, Mu Long, can do for you." The 1,000 Sengoku unleashed their terrifying spiritual energy at the same time, forming a thick and heavy defense. Qian Ji stood behind these people anxiously. It can't be that the real kid passed. At this moment, the evil spirit race's deity War Soul had already swung his sword. A deity War Soul could shock tens of thousands of races, and this attack was at 100% of its power. With a loud bang, over 1,000 celestial kings were sent flying by the impact of the collision. Lu Chen's eyes widened. How could this attack be so powerful? The previous level was not so terrifying. The deity War Soul could still weaken the attack by 30%. However, this time, the 1,000 Sengoku were only able to weaken the attack by less than 5%. This increase in strength, there was something wrong. This attack was definitely not just 1% stronger than the previous level. It was almost 6 times stronger. Those Sengoku who were sent flying, as long as they were still conscious, hurriedly propped themselves up. How could it be so strong? Something is wrong. Not good. Mad God was already at his peak state in the previous level. This time, the attack is more than 6 times stronger. Mad God won't be able to withstand it. At this moment, when everyone thought that there was no more deity War Soul to help Lu Chen weaken the attack, they realized that there were still 3 figures in the strong light, struggling to hold on. Gu Ying, Mu Long, and Feng Wu. After holding on for a while, Feng Wu spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Gu Ying's face was already ferocious. The huge pressure made him feel like an ant against an elephant. In the spiritual energy storm, his long hair flew and his clothes were torn. He didn't even have the ability to turn his head. He could only resist the attack with all his might. Next to him, Mu Long was bleeding from his 7 orifices. They obviously felt that something was wrong with this move. If this move was allowed to pass, Lu Chen, who had suffered 100,000 times the damage, might die. Mulong, hold on. Gu Ying said with all his strength. Hold on a little longer, Lu Chen will have more chance of survival. No. Mulong gritted his teeth, his face ferocious. His shirt was torn, and all his muscles and blood vessels were bulging. Gu Ying roared. Just because Lu Chen isn't a celestial supremacy? Why are you doing this to him? If you want to kill my brother, you'll have to do it over my dead body. Gu Ying's blood vessels exploded, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Mulong's arms were broken. He directly controlled his long sword to resist this incomparably ferocious sword chi. Seeing this, Lu Chen, who was in the state of bloodlust, suddenly had green smoke billowing out of his eyes. He roared, "Get out of my way!" Virtual form, extreme ice flame sword. Virtual form, endless dawn. Little beast, little furball, little originator. Endless dawn was a group attack, but the god-destroying void spear technique varied from person to person. Lu Chen could change Heaven's Fury Spear to a single target attack, and Lu Chen could also change Endless Daybreak to a single target attack. He could combine the terrifying attack of Endless Dawn into a single point. When Lu Chen arrived, four figures protected Gu Ying and Mulong, who were still alive. As soon as Qianji saved Gu Ying and Mulong, he hurriedly turned around. The man in the black and white fish robe with demonized arms attacked the terrifying sword energy with his sword and spear. Would he die? Would he? With a loud boom, a dazzling halo exploded on the 81st level of the Seal God altar, shaking the universe. Chapter 1425. The remaining 1,000 people stared at the apotheosis platform. It was a mess. Apart from the 4 earth puppets, there were 4 human figures and 2 giant beasts lying on the ground. No one knew if they were dead or alive. In addition to the 1,000 people who were injured by the shockwave earlier, the evil spirit race's god War Soul had immobilized 1,000 people with one move. Fortunately, after the god-fighting soul swung his sword, he did not continue to attack. He just stood there, expressionless. The 4 people on the ground, Lu Chen, Lone Shadow, Mulong, and Little Beast, did not move at all. Little Furball was covered in blood. Little Beast had been forced out of its original body. Qianji looked at the people lying beside him. If not for the fact that he could not control the earth puppet's body, this would have been a rare opportunity to kill Lu Chen. After a long time, Mulong was the first to wake up. He looked around and nudged Lone Shadow beside him. Lone Shadow? Lone Shadow replied weakly. Luckily, he was not dead. Mulong saw Lu Chen again. This guy had been forced out of the inner demon state. He was covered in blood and lying on the ground motionlessly. Even the void god-destroying spear and the limitless demon god sword were beside him. Lu Chen. Mulong's arms were broken. He could only use his shoulders to support himself as he crawled over. He turned Lu Chen over. Lu Chen. Lu Chen coughed a few times and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Lu Chen opened his eyes slightly and looked at Mulong. He suddenly laughed. "You're not dead. Where's Lone Shadow?" Cough, 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 cough. Seeing Lu Chen speak, Mulong finally felt relieved. He sat up with difficulty and leaned against Lu Chen. "That guy is not dead either." Not far away, Lone Shadow slowly opened his eyes. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He crawled to Lu Chen's side, grabbed Mulong's shoulder, and sat up weakly. His head was on the ground as he said weakly, "Lu Chen, so, from now on, half of your title will be given to us." Cough, cough, cough. Lu Chen looked at the 3 beasts beside him. Xiao Yuan's body had already stabilized. The little beast opened its eyes, and the little furball was licking the blood on its body. Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. "I can give you all the titles." "Hey, Lu Chen, what do you think your title will be?" "I think Lunatic is more suitable for you. You pounced on him when he dealt 100,000 damage. Do you have any brains?" Mulong spat. "Isn't that so? That's 100,000 times damage. I find it strange that he's not dead yet." Lu Chen said, "Who's brainless? I first used the triple door to teleport the Buddha body avatar before I went up. Cuff, cuff, cuff. This is called being rough but subtle. Do you know? Mu Long took a deep breath and stood up shakily. How can you be so careless? I think you don't care about the consequences. Standing there and looking at the path they had taken, Mu Long took a deep breath and said, Lu Chen, now I finally understand why you're a 4-time level 12 heavenly tribulation. You're treated as a VIP on every floor of the Tower of Babel. I'm really unlucky to be your friend. Gu Ying took an elixir, adjusted his breath for a moment, and stood up as well. That's right. Mu Long, you don't know that he didn't want to pass the Tower of Babel at first. At that time, I was ready to guard his body. Lu Chen could only smile helplessly at his two friends' compliments. Well, no matter whether I can become a god or not, at least I've been to the apotheosis altar. Gu Ying took a deep breath, reached out his hand, and smiled at Lu Chen. The level 80 apotheosis altar, 100,000 times damage. Lu Chen, congratulations. You finally passed the apotheosis altar. Lu Chen held Gu Ying's hand tightly, but Gu Ying couldn't stand steadily and hurriedly grabbed Mu Long. Mu Long wailed, My hand. Don't you know that I lost an arm? Damn, can you not be so deceitful? The three of them staggered, cursing and swearing. Finally, they stood up. Lu Chen looked at the two of them. There was no need for him to say anything. Little Originator turned into Little Furball's appearance and lay on Little Beast's shoulder with Little Furball. Little Beast shook its head. Can't you two walk on your own? As it spoke, it stood up with its hands on the ground. Are you okay? Lu Chen nodded. Gu Ying, Mu Long, and Lu Chen looked at each other before looking at the evil spirit race's war soul. Hey, what's wrong? Do you still want to fight? Lu Chen looked at the war soul. The war soul's gaze turned and landed on Lu Chen. If he were to make a move now, after a moment, he would suddenly take a step to the side and open up the final path. You can enter, but the other two can't. Gu Ying and Mu Long sent Lu Chen to the entrance before letting go. Gu Ying sighed, Kid, we can only send you up to here. Be careful. We might not be able to reach the 8th heaven in our lifetime. Come back and visit us when you have time, Mu Long said. Don't die in the 8th heaven so quickly. Lu Chen took a deep breath and nodded. Okay. Little Beast, Qianji, let's go. Lu Chen led the earth puppet and the three beasts to the last stage of the apotheosis platform. There was a table in front of Lu Chen. There was a piece of white paper on the table. When Lu Chen came to the white paper, two Earth Chinese characters suddenly appeared on the white paper, stroke by stroke. Godfing. At the same time, Lu Chen noticed that the fog on the badge on his chest had dissipated. The words on it had also changed. 2-star field God-fiend human emperor, variant. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Was that giant rock's own title? I'm still the human emperor. I haven't become a god yet. Forget it, I don't expect to become a god anyway. Human emperor it is. It's just that the words field and variant are a little eye-catching. I've finally reached the divine realm. In the distance, Mu Long and Gu Ying shouted at Lu Chen crazily. Lu Chen, what's your title? Let us see. At that moment, a whirlpool-shaped nebula appeared in the sky above everyone's heads. The paper on the table was swept up by the nebula and slowly flew into the sky until it was sucked into the nebula. The evil spirit race's god War Soul suddenly said, Man follows earth, earth follows heaven, heaven follows Tao, Tao follows nature. Solipsistic Tao Tao, apotheosis complete. Title, God Fiend. As soon as he said that, two huge words appeared in the sky. They were the words God Fiend. God Fiend Human Emperor. Mu Long thought for a while and smiled. This kid's title is indeed very suitable for him. Yes, in the future, when talking about the God Fiend Human Emperor, I can say that half of the credit is due to me, Gu Ying said proudly. Lu Chen took a deep breath. It seemed that he was really fated to be a God Fiend. Alright, this title was not bad. At least it didn't really give him the title of a lunatic. The apotheosis of Dao Dao was finally completed. Lu Chen looked at the teleportation gate in front of him. A brand new journey was ahead. There were still many people and things waiting for him behind that gate. What would the 8th heaven be like? No matter what, he was very sure of one thing. Judging from this super intense apotheosis of Dao Dao, the eighth heaven would not be easy. Lu Chen stood in front of the teleportation gate and looked back. Everyone take care. With that, he stepped into the vortex with the 3 beasts and the 1,000 puppets. Chapter 1426. When Lu Chen opened his eyes, he found himself in a primitive jungle. There were 20 to 30 barbarians wearing animal skins with some strange patterns on their bodies. They were kneeling on the ground with simple spears and bows beside them. At this time, their foreheads were on the ground, and they were constantly muttering. Strangely, Lu Chen could understand their words. They seemed to be grateful for the protection of a local god, who helped them scare away the beasts and saved them. Lu Chen frowned, and his brain couldn't react for a while. Looking at these people, they should be humans who couldn't even be considered as immortal cultivators. Wasn't this the 8th heaven? Wasn't this the divine realm? There were no mortals in the 7th heaven. How could there be mortals in the 8th heaven? Lu Chen couldn't understand. Looking at these people who were kneeling and worshipping him, he guessed that he couldn't get anything out of them, so he turned and left. God of hunting, please wait. Behind him, an old man said in a trembling voice. Lu Chen looked back at the old man. I'm not your god of hunting. You've got it wrong. You are not the god of hunting? No, we were just discovered by the greater-toothed tiger. Just when we were asking for the protection of the gods, you appeared. The greater-toothed tiger saw you and ran away. You're not a god. Why would such a ferocious beast be afraid of you? Lu Chen didn't know what kind of beast the greater-toothed tiger was, but looking at the old man's confident tone, he guessed that during the teleportation, this group of people was praying to the gods when they were in danger, and he happened to appear and scared away some beast or something. Lu Chen wanted to deny it, but he changed his mind after thinking about it. Oh man, where is this? Is this the 8th heaven? Even the natives should know about the divine realm, just like the natives of the 5th heaven knew that he was in the 5th heaven. 8th heaven? Lord God, this is the Varo star, and we are from the White Wolf tribe. I don't know what you mean by the 8th heaven. Lu Chen frowned more and more. Okay, where is your tribe? It's 30 miles west from here. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, you guys go first, I want to be alone. Those people didn't seem to dare to disobey Lu Chen's words. They bowed and retreated step by step until they were far away. Only then did they reluctantly leave. Lu Chen shook his head and walked to the side of a lake. He propped up his chin and thought hard. Is it because I'm not a god that there's no notification? The last time I went to the 7th heaven, it was the same. Yi Fan, Jiu, and the rest had hints, but I didn't. Lu Chen originally thought that the 8th heaven was filled with deities, but as soon as he arrived he encountered mortals. Furthermore, these mortals seemed to know nothing about the 8th heaven. After thinking for a while, Lu Chen summoned Little Golden Carp and Qianji and told them about the current situation. Qianji opened his eyes wide. Why was he called out again? Lu Chen, this guy, really used himself as a counselor? The Little Golden Carp thought for a moment and said, Benefactor, perhaps it is related to the Heavenly Tao's divine power. The way to level up the Heavenly Tao's divine power is different from other attributes. It requires the power of faith from mortals to level up. As the 8th heaven is the heaven where deities live, these mortal worlds appeared in order to level up the Heavenly Tao's divine power. Lu Chen finally had an idea. He then looked at Qianji and said, Qianji, what do you think? Tell me. Qianji said with tears in his eyes, deities, immortals, and mortals are all different. Don't you have a skill called God's Descent? Based on the strength of that skill, deities can transform into 10,000 worlds. Since that's the case, the divine domain shouldn't be the same as the normal heaven. It might not even have a fixed location. The divine domain exists in the countless worlds here, but it doesn't exist in the 10,000 worlds in a specific form. Lu Chen opened his eyes wide. Qianji's analysis made sense. It seemed that keeping his head was the right choice. What should we do now? Lu Chen asked. Qianji thought for a moment and said, doesn't the White Wolf tribe worship a god of the hunt? Since it's only a deity's world, that means that the god of the hunt is real. Let's think of a way to trick him over. We'll know when we ask him. After Qianji finished speaking, he secretly observed Lu Chen's reaction. As the saying goes, a mountain cannot contain two tigers. If a deity wanted to level up the heavenly Tao's divine power, he wouldn't allow another deity to appear in his territory. As long as Lu Chen agreed to his suggestion, the real deity would kill him if he came. Lu Chen thought for a moment and slapped his thigh. All right, it's decided then. Lu Chen immediately kept the little golden carp and Qianji and headed west to look for the White Wolf tribe. However, before Lu Chen could go far, he caught up with the previous team of White Wolf hunters before he could find the White Wolf tribe. When the group of hunters saw Lu Chen, they wanted to kneel down again. Lu Chen reacted quickly and held the leading old man. I've already said that I'm not a deity. I just happened to pass by and scared the split-toothed tiger away. You don't have to kneel to me. The hunters looked at each other. Just happened to pass by? But looking at him, he doesn't look like a deity. Lu Chen had always been like this when interacting with others. He didn't care about the other party's strength and didn't put on airs. He didn't look like a deity at all. Since you've saved us, you're our benefactor. If you don't mind, we'd like to invite you to our tribe. We'll treat you with the best wine and food. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, I have a few friends. Would that be convenient? The old man immediately said, Our White Wolf tribe is the largest tribe nearby. Benefactor's friends are our friends. How can we reject you? Lu Chen smiled and pretended to call the four beasts out from the forest. These guys should be hungry. Dad, is this the 8th layer of heaven? Why is it different from what I imagined? Don't be so long-winded. Those are mortals. I'll bring you guys to eat something first. When it came to food, the little furball immediately became spirited and squeaked excitedly. Lu Chen brought the little beast and followed the White Wolf hunters towards the White Wolf tribe. The territory of the White Wolf tribe wasn't small. The entire tribe had about 2,000 people. The men were responsible for hunting while the women were responsible for planting and rearing livestock. After the leading old man had a simple discussion with the chief personally came to Lu Chen and bowed slightly. Hello, brave warrior. I'm the chief of the White Wolf tribe, White Wolf King. Thank you, brave warrior, for saving our hunters. Benefactor, please stay for a few days. We'll do our part as a host. Lu Chen naturally didn't object. While he was talking to White Wolf King, he glanced around the tribe. At the back of the village, he saw a building made of pure white stone. There were stone pillars on top of it and some strange patterns were drawn on the pillars. It seemed to be an altar. Chapter 1427. On that day, Lu Chen and the little beast received the warmest reception. The alcohol in the White Wolf tribe was very strong. The women in the tribe were also dressed very lightly. They were not primitive people, and their appearance was almost the same as the people on Earth. The few women who served Lu Chen and the little beast were quite pretty. The little beast passed out after a few glasses, but Lu Chen was still the same. He could not get drunk even after 1,000 glasses. Speaking of which, Lu Chen was not a big drinker in the past. It was just that after his cultivation increased, his alcohol tolerance also increased. Lu Chen looked at the little beast strangely. This guy got drunk so quickly? Maybe he was born allergic to alcohol. At night, Lu Chen and the little beast were arranged to stay in the White Wolf tribe. Late at night, Lu Chen was not sleepy at all. He lay on the bed and looked at the moonlight outside the window. There is no specific location in the divine territory. Where can I find the great Mongol tree? Although the little golden carp could search for treasures, she had a special characteristic, which was that she was aimless. Besides, he could not travel through places with water like her. Let's see if I can get the god of the hunt down first. Just when Lu Chen could not sleep at night, Lu Chen saw two graceful figures in light muslin. They seemed to be holding a plate in their hands. They glanced at him and then left in a hurry. The next morning, Lu Chen went to look for the little beast. As soon as he opened the door, the scene in front of him made Lu Chen's brain short-circuit. There were two women on the little beast's bed. The two women were sleeping very soundly. It seemed that they were tired last night. On the other hand, The little beast saw its dad as soon as it opened its eyes. It quickly got up and put on its clothes, then pulled its dad to the door. "Dad, why are you up so early?" Lu Chen looked at the little beast in shock. Why are there women in your house?" "Dad, didn't anyone send you fruits last night?" the little beast asked, puzzled. "Fruits? What fruits?" Little beastie thought for a moment and said, "Oh, maybe it's because Dad wasn't drunk yesterday? Dad, the beautiful woman who served us wine last night obviously wanted something to happen between us, so I pretended to be drunk early." "Pretending to be drunk?" Lu Chen was shocked. "That's right, if we don't pretend to be drunk, they won't have a chance." As expected, they came at night. The little beast looked at Lu Chen with a, "you know what I mean," expression. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Written all over his face was, "I don't understand." Last night, when they were drinking, they were talking about how powerful the White Wolf clan was and how the god of the hunt was protecting them. Why were they talking like this? Why didn't he know? Speaking of which, there were indeed 2 women who stayed outside his room last night. But when they saw that he had a lot on his mind, they left. Who would have thought that even though they were both drinking together, the 2 of them were treated so differently? Lu Chen let out a long sigh. "Little Shou, you've grown up. It's reasonable to say that I shouldn't meddle in your affairs. But what if you leave a child behind? We still haven't figured out what this world is like." Little Shou scratched its head. "So be it. Dad, I'm different from you. I'm a mythical beast. If we don't reproduce, how can there be so many mutated mythical beasts?" Lu Chen thought about it and felt that it made sense. The dragon had 9 sons, and each one was different. When they were fused into little beasts, there were 2 dragons and a bunch of other mythical beasts. It shouldn't be too much to have a few hundred children. Well, he didn't make it this time. He wondered if there would be anyone coming to deliver fruits tonight. It was said that the first impression was very important. After the failed attempt to deliver fruits, no one came to disturb Lu Chen at night. Since he didn't have a chance to have a romantic encounter, Lu Chen could only focus on inquiring about the god of the hunt. According to the White Wolf King, in 2.5 months, it would be the big day to worship the god of the hunt. At that time, not only would all the tribes of Varro open their own god altar, but they would also select the strongest warriors from each tribe to worship the god of the hunt at the main god altar. It seemed that this was a rare opportunity. Lu Chen and Little Shou didn't have anywhere to go, so Lu Chen and Little Shou stayed in the White Wolf tribe for the time being. In order to integrate into the White Wolf tribe, Lu Chen called himself Jackal, and Little Shou called himself 100 Beast. Half a month later, on this day, the White Wolf King gathered all the hunters in the tribe and announced that they would select the strongest warrior in the tribe. According to tradition, every warrior has a chance to compete for the title of the strongest warrior, the White Wolf King said loudly. The White Wolf King said loudly, "Within 7 days, whoever hunts the highest level prey will be able to bring the prey and represent our White Wolf clan to participate in the worship of the gods on Varro." Seeing that the crowd didn't seem to be in a good mood, the White Wolf King shook his head and shouted, "But no matter how the other tribes look at us, we must also be blessed by the god of the hunt. Otherwise, how can we survive in the Varro forest, which is full of wild beasts? Since you are a warrior, you must shoulder the responsibility of protecting the tribe." After being lectured by the chief, the crowd raised their heads and clenched their fists. Lu Chen didn't care what the others thought and said, "Chief White Wolf King, can I participate in your warrior competition?" Everyone looked at Lu Chen and then looked at the White Wolf King. The old hunter who was saved by Lu Chen quietly pulled Lu Chen's sleeve. "Jackal, the strongest warrior is not what you think it is. People in our village can only hunt level 1 beasts, so our sacrifices will be looked down upon, and our warriors will be insulted by other tribes." After living in the tribe for half a month, Lu Chen had some understanding of this world. On Kalos Star, wild beasts were also divided into levels. For example, the split-toothed tiger's level increased from level 1 to level 9, while the split-toothed tiger could only be regarded as a level 2 to level 3 beast. This kind of beast required more than 100 people to hunt. At first, the White Wolf tribe said that they were a large tribe, but in fact they were far from being a real large tribe. They could only be regarded as the best among the dwarves. In the past, in their warrior competition, hunting a level 1 beast had a high probability of becoming the strongest warrior. However, in the eyes of the real big tribes, such sacrifices were not even qualified to be worshipped. Lu Chen nodded and smiled at the old man. You have warmly entertained us for many days, just think of it as me returning the favor. Don't worry, Black Ape, I know what to do. The White Wolf King negotiated with the witch next to him and said, Brother Jackal, you are the benefactor of our White Wolf tribe, so naturally you can participate in the warrior competition. But you don't know, in fact, the strongest warrior also needs the courage to face a difficult situation. The chief spoke more vaguely. After all, he was mobilizing the others. Lu Chen said disapprovingly, I know, okay, thank you, chief. Next, the week-long big hunting competition began. The little beast planned to stay in the tribe to guard the rear, but Lu Chen couldn't do anything about it. He took the dry food and walked alone into the forest. Looking at the direction Lu Chen left, Black Ape frowned. That direction, isn't it the direction to the land of death? Chapter 1428. Thinking of Little Beast, Lu Chen was filled with anger. He cursed as he chopped the weeds and withered vines in front of him. That little bastard Little Beast, doesn't he know how to warn his father? Seeing that there was no one around, Lu Chen directly used his movement technique and quickly rushed to the place of death. It was said that there was a 9th-level exotic beast living here, the king of exotic beasts in this forest. 50 kilometers away, Lu Chen saw a huge cave at the foot of a huge mountain. It was dozens of meters tall, and it appeared in front of him. As a man who had been the alpha wolf for 100 years, Lu Chen knew the minds of wild beasts too well. The other exotic beasts' nests were all hidden. Only the powerful exotic beasts dared to show their nests to the outside world. I guess this is the golden lion's nest. Lu Chen walked directly into the cave. The owner was not home. The nest was full of beasts and human skeletons, emitting a fishy smell. That guy is not here? If he went out hunting, I don't know how long he would have to wait. Lu Chen shook his head, wondering if he should go out and look for him. At this moment, Little Green suddenly reacted. Lu Chen called her out. What's wrong, Little Green? Boss, the smell of herbs in this cave is very strong. There are spirit herbs in the depths of the cave. Little Green said excitedly. It smells like the beast god's illusionary soul herb. Lu Chen knew very few herbs. Anyway, if Little Green said it was useful, then it was useful. Okay, then you go and pick them. Little Furball and Little Originator will protect you. Little Green was already picking the herbs in the cave. Almost at the same time, a rumbling sound came from the entrance of the cave. Lu Chen quickly walked to the entrance of the cave and found 3 golden lion hunters rushing to the cave. The golden lion hunters were covered in golden hair. They were over 60 meters tall and had a huge body. 3. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. It seems that they want to protect the spirit herbs in the cave. As soon as Little Green attacked, it attracted the nearby golden fur hoe. Then let's kill them together. Lu Chen didn't even use a weapon. With a flash of his figure, the 3 golden-furred guardian lions had already died at his hands. At the same time, Little Green finished harvesting the herbs. When he came out, he saw the corpses of the 3 giant beasts on the ground. Lu Chen clapped his hands. It's a little stronger than a 9-revolution monstrous beast. I didn't expect there to be such a powerful beast in this world. Little Green smiled as he said, Boss, no matter how strong they were still killed by you. Should we bring these 3 back? Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, 3 is too troublesome. Take out 2 beast cores and give them to the little beast to bring back. I will take the biggest one back. If we go back now, we'll attract too much attention. Since there are herbs here, Little Green, let's just walk around. The 7-day hunting competition was finally coming to an end. One by one, the warriors returned to the tribe. The people in the tribe also gathered around, looking at the prey brought back by the warriors. De Zhuang, you hunted 3 short-tailed gray-eyed wolves by yourself. They're not small. They're all over 10 years old. They're the best among the level 1 beasts. This should be the best result so far. De Zhuang, you're indeed the #1 warrior of our White Wolf tribe. Little Beasts and his 2 wives were also watching the fun. As for the prey brought back by the warriors, Little Beasts didn't express any opinions. They treated him well, so he didn't want to attack these simple people. However, there were a few warriors who looked at Little Beasts with a trace of disgust in their eyes. A big man who only knows how to hide in the arms of women. Is such a person worthy of living in the tribe? He doesn't even dare to participate in the hero competition. I've never seen such a spineless man. Don't talk about the hero competition. Have you seen them participate in the hunting competition? They only know how to live off women. They saved Black Ape and a few others, but we've been feeding them for almost a month. Why do they still have the face to stay with us? Little Beast smiled and looked at the warriors. Friends, who said we're freeloaders? Didn't my dad go hunting? Your dad? Jackals don't have any hunting experience. What do you think he can catch? I think jackals can't even catch a rabbit. Little Beasts was unhappy when he heard them talk about his dad. How can you say that? Even the chief said we can stay as long as we want. Who do you think you are? The chief is the chief. We're the ones who are hunting. If we want to chase you away, the chief can't stop us. De Zhuang said angrily. You don't even participate in the hero competition. What right do you have to speak here? Cowards. With Little Beast's temper, he couldn't wait to teach these people a lesson. However, when he turned around and saw his 2 wives, if he couldn't hold back and killed them, his wives wouldn't be able to raise their heads in the future. Moreover, the ones who started the trouble didn't represent the entire White Wolf tribe. Thinking of this, Little Beast held back. Fine. You said my dad and I are freeloaders, right? When my dad comes back, he'll shut all of you up. TSK, this is the last day. If your dad's prey isn't the best in the village, you 2 can get out of the village. Fine, if his prey is the best, then the 4 of you can get out. At this moment, a figure appeared at the village entrance. Everyone looked over and saw Lu Chen returning empty-handed. I told you. Look at jackals. They didn't catch anything. De Zhuang laughed wildly. Little Beasts frowned. Impossible. Dad must have gone to find the god of the hunt. How could he return empty-handed? From afar, Lu Chen saw Little Beast and shouted at the top of his lungs, Little Beast, call more people over to help. Little Beast was stunned, but quickly went to call Black Ape and the others over. The others looked at the village entrance coldly. Help? Could it be that they caught a 2nd-level beast? Stop pretending. Not long after, Black Ape ran over. Looking at his expression, it was as if he had seen a ghost. He went straight to the chief's house. White Wolf King quickly rushed out of the house and shouted, all the men in the village, come with me now. Jackals caught a big guy. 400 to 500 people stood in front of a giant golden beast's body. Their jaws were all missing. This is an adult golden furho? A 9th-level beast king. Oh my god, didn't they say that anyone who saw the golden furho would become its food? It's huge. Jackals, did you really catch it? How many tribes on Varo can hunt a golden furho? Lu Chen scratched his head and thought for a moment before saying, I was just lucky. It happened to be injured. I don't know who injured it, but I picked it up. Black Ape opened his eyes wide and looked at Lu Chen in horror. Brother Jackals, for hundreds of years, we have never heard of anyone who could be as lucky as you. Besides, this golden furho only has a small wound on its forehead. There is no injury on its body. How could it be injured? Lu Chen was a little embarrassed. If he explained further, he would be exposed. He hurriedly gave Little Beasts a look. Little Beasts, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and drag it back to the village. Father, let us help you. The 2 beauties beside Little Beasts took action first. Father? Lu Chen was confused, but soon he figured out the reason. These 2 must be his daughters-in-law. Lu Chen held his forehead and looked hopeless. Chapter 1429. Lu Chen's prey was like a small mountain in the village. De Zhuang was so scared that he couldn't even speak properly. Golden bear lion. You can even hunt such a thing? Little Beast smiled. Now, no one will say that we are here to eat and stay for free. This time, there was no need for a selection. The White Wolf King was so excited that he couldn't speak properly. Brother Lupus is too strong. Our White Wolf tribe actually... No, you actually hunted a level 9 beast. This is unbelievable. I think there's no need for a selection. Lupus is the strongest warrior of our tribe. He will represent our tribe to participate in the god of hunting's ritual. The women in the tribe dealt with the corpse of the golden bear lion. The corpse was protected by spiritual energy, so it wouldn't rot so quickly. However, it was better to eat it fresh. The food couldn't be finished in a few days. Some of it had to be made into bacon, and the bones could be made into sharp weapons. In short, the tribe was busy dealing with the corpse of the golden bear lion. 2 days later, Lu Chen could finally set off. The White Wolf King personally put on Lu Chen's head ornament that represented the White Wolf tribe. Brother Lupus, this time our White Wolf tribe can finally hold our heads up high. You can choose 10 warriors to escort you to the main altar of the god of hunting. Lu Chen chose Black Ape and the others. He took the dry food prepared by the White Wolf tribe and Little Beast with him. Little Beast followed beside Lu Chen while Black Ape and the others followed behind with the cart. Dad, are we not going back to the White Wolf tribe in the future? Little Beast asked in a low voice. Do you really think we are here for a vacation? Didn't the White Wolf King say that if the level of the prey sacrificed was high enough, we could even get the god of hunting's guidance? A level 9 beast is already the highest level here. It should be able to attract the god of hunting's attention, Lu Chen replied. Lu Chen's current strength was not enough to fight against a real god. After all, when he was a titled warrior, he only dealt with God's war soul. Little Beast sighed. Fortunately, I left a lot of beast cores for my 2 wives. They won't have to worry about food and clothing in the future. Why didn't you bring them along? Troublesome. The little beast said, divine beasts are only responsible for reproduction. Sigh, we divine beasts are destined to be lonely. Sure enough, the little beast was becoming more and more like a mythical beast. Especially when it was irresponsible, with the Black Ape and the rest following them, Lu Chen and the little beast didn't travel too fast. However, they weren't in a hurry either. They arrived at the main altar of the god of hunting in 15 days. From afar, they could see an altar as tall as a pyramid. The base of the pyramid altar was a few hundred meters long. The whole altar was quite majestic, far more than the small altars in the tribes. That should be the place where the god of the hunt was worshipped. When they arrived, there were already many tribesmen here. Judging from the offerings brought by these tribes, the White Wolf tribe was indeed the smallest tribe. Most of the tribes had strong physiques, and they actually had a foundation of spiritual power. Their spoils of war even included the heads of level 5, 6, and 7 wild beasts. Lu Chen came to the Black Ape's side and asked curiously, Brother Black Ape, do these people cultivate spiritual power? Black Ape replied, Oh, Jackal, you're talking about those dragon hunters. In some large tribes, there are their own dragon hunters. They have the ability to use spiritual power to increase the limits of their bodies. They're far more powerful than us ordinary people. Then, Black Ape said embarrassedly, actually, when I first told you that the White Wolf tribe was a large tribe, I was more or less bragging. Tribes that can come here must have more than 2,000 people. Our White Wolf tribe is considered a large tribe around our territory, but in the entire Varo Star, we're only considered to have just started developing. Lu Chen smiled faintly. He already knew. However, he didn't expect there to be so many practitioners here. He just took a look and the strongest one was about as strong as Theo the Great. Theo the Great was only 1 realm away from the Human King realm. Speaking of which, he was only 2 realms lower than Lu Chen. People from various tribes brought the heads of their hunted prey and waited for the final ceremony. When Lu Chen raised the head of the golden centipede, the surrounding people retreated far away. My God, what kind of beast's head is this? It's so big. A level 9 beast? Looking at the head ornaments, they're from the White Wolf tribe. How could the White Wolf tribe hunt such a powerful beast? This be the one from the land of death, right? At this moment, The crowd at the back suddenly became restless. It's the twin dragon tribe. This time, they brought the head of the level 9 Kueox. The Kueox is the most difficult prey to hunt. The twin dragon tribe is going to be the first hero of the ceremony again. They can get the chance to talk to the god of the hunt. I'm so envious. Their warrior is the Beast King. It's really the Beast King. I'm here this time to see the Beast King himself. Lu Chen and the little beast looked over and saw a well-dressed man standing on a wooden chariot. The head of the Kueox was hanging in front of the chariot. Countless people crowded around and shouted the name of the Beast King. He was very conspicuous in the crowd. Lu Chen asked the black ape, "Who's that guy?" "That's the Beast King, the first warrior of the Twin Dragon tribe. The Twin Dragon tribe is the strongest tribe on Vero." The black ape said unwillingly, "Jackal, although we're also level 9 tributes, it's better not to provoke them." Another white wolf tribe member said, "The Twin Dragon tribe is always the first hero of the ceremony. They monopolize 80% of the blessings of the god of the hunt. The other tribes get the remaining 20% according to the level of the tributes. Moreover, the Twin Dragon tribe is the only tribe on Vero that has a territory. No other tribe can exist within 500 miles of their territory. Once discovered, the tribe will be exterminated. As long as you enter their territory, whether intentional or not, you'll be killed by them. Their methods are quite cruel." The little beast squinted its eyes slightly. The Beast King was a human king. No wonder he was so arrogant. Black Ape, the first hero of the ceremony, can have the chance to talk to the god of the hunt? Is that true? The black ape nodded. After the god of the hunt is summoned, if he's satisfied with the tributes, he'll let the high priest pass on his will. The high priest is the wizard who presides over the ceremony. He's also from the Twin Dragon tribe. Lu Chen frowned. Talking to the god of the hunt was the opportunity he was looking for. If that was the case, he had to be the first hero of the ceremony. Lu Chen snorted. "We're all level 9 tributes. Why can we only fight for 20% while they get 80%? The black ape heard Lu Chen's words and immediately became worried. He said anxiously, "Jackal, don't provoke them. We can't afford to provoke them." The little beast looked indifferent and said, "Black ape, don't worry. The Twin Dragon tribe will understand that my dad is the one they can't afford to provoke." Chapter 1430. At noon, the ceremony of the god of the hunt officially began. After a series of complicated prayer ceremonies, the high priest began the group war dance. Since only the representatives of the tribe could participate in the ceremony, the offerings were temporarily kept by the tribe members. The gongs and drums shook the sky, and the warriors around were dancing with all their might. Lu Chen was speechless. Why didn't anyone tell him that there was a dance? It was part of the ceremony, so Lu Chen had to dance with them. However, his dance was influenced by the Wuji Continent's Academy of Male Arts. It was quite sexy. "Oh my god, Dad's dance is so sexy." The little beast widened its eyes, full of amazement and admiration. "I didn't expect Dad to be so talented. I want to learn." It took a lot of effort to get through the group dance. The high priest stood in front of the altar and shouted to all the warriors below, "The first drop of blood will be offered by the first warrior of Vero." The Beast King of the Twin Dragon tribe hunted the head of the level 9 Kueox. He is the first warrior of Vero. "Warrior Beast King, please come to the stage." The Beast King held his head high. 8 tribesmen of the Twin Dragon tribe carried the huge head of the Kueox to him. He put the head of the Kueox on his shoulder and strode to the pyramid altar under everyone's gaze. The black ape had no time to pay attention to the Beast King. He kept staring at the wolf in front of him. Is this guy really going to do it? Wait. As expected, Lu Chen shouted, attracting everyone's attention. The Beast King frowned slightly and slowly turned to look in the direction of the voice. The high priest on the altar was extremely dissatisfied. "For you, how dare you make trouble at the ceremony of the god of the hunt?" Lu Chen snorted. "Is the title of the first warrior just for show? If that's the case, I'll be the first warrior too." As soon as Lu Chen finished speaking, there was an uproar. Is this guy crazy? He's talking nonsense at the ceremony of the god of the hunt. Isn't he afraid of being punished by the gods? He's from the White Wolf tribe. Although the White Wolf tribe was only qualified to participate in the general ceremony a few years ago, they have participated in it several times. How can they not know the rules? What is the White Wolf's offering? The high priest looked coldly at Lu Chen, his voice filled with malice. What a joke! It's an indisputable fact that the Beast King is the #1 warrior of Varro. None of the warriors have any objections to this. How can I just casually make a decision? You can ask these thousands of warriors if anyone has any objections to the title of the #1 warrior of the Beast King. The high priest waved his scepter in a regal manner. None of the warriors present dared to look directly at him. Did you see the Beast King's sacrifice? The Class 9 One-Legged Bull. The title of the Beast King's #1 warrior is a result of his strength and everyone's expectations. Lu Chen smiled disapprovingly. I don't know if it's true or not, but I don't think it's true that it's what everyone expects. How about this, all the warriors of the tribes, as long as you choose me as the #1 warrior, the White Wolf tribe will only take 30% of the blessings of the god of the hunt. The other 70% will be divided according to the level of the offering. As soon as Lu Chen finished speaking, the warriors of the other tribes raised their heads and looked at Lu Chen in shock. The Twin Dragon tribe took 80% of the blessings of the god of the hunt. How could they not have any objections? There were thousands of tribes in Varro. Including those who were not qualified to be here, there might be hundreds of thousands of them. The Twin Dragon tribe took 80% of the blessings. How domineering! No one had dared to mention it before, but no one had expected that a warrior from a small tribe like the White Wolf tribe would bring it up today. Black Ape sighed and said to a companion behind him, Silver Fox, quickly go back and report that the Jackal Wolf has gone mad and offended the Twin Dragon tribe. Ask the White Wolf King to organize an evacuation immediately. At this moment, Lu Chen was oblivious to Black Ape's situation. He continued speaking passionately, You all claim to be the strongest warriors of your tribe. But you have the courage to face the ferocious beasts, but you don't have the courage to resist oppression? One tribe takes 80% of the blessings, and thousands of you only get 20%. In the long run, the Twin Dragon tribe will become stronger and stronger, and you will become weaker. When that time comes, I'm afraid they won't even be willing to give you 20%. As long as you choose me as the strongest warrior, I can guarantee that as long as the blessings of the god of the hunt are still there, the ratio I mentioned just now will not change. The eyes of the people around suddenly lit up with hope after hearing Lu Chen's words. Now that's a reasonable ratio. That's right, why should the Twin Dragon tribe take 80%? I've had objections for a long time. If we all work together, the Twin Dragon tribe won't dare to touch us. The scene suddenly became chaotic. The warriors' spirits gradually rose, and some even directly shouted the name of the White Wolf tribe. There was a loud bang in front of the pyramid altar. The ground shook, and the scene instantly quieted down. People looked in the direction of the sound and saw the Beast King punch the ground. With his iron fist as the center, the ground cracked for 300 to 400 meters, shattering the ground with one punch. Those who supported Lu Chen shut up all of a sudden, because that person was angry. The Beast King slowly stood up. The head of the kuei on his shoulder seemed to be a part of his body, making people feel even more intimidated. He lifted his chin slightly and narrowed his eyes at Lu Chen. You said that my title as the strongest warrior of the Beast King was casually given by the high priest? Kid, did you see my prey? In order to protect its young, it resisted with all its might. In the end, the more it resisted, the more pain it suffered when it died. Everyone was shocked. The Beast King killed a level 9 kuei. What was more terrifying was that he killed a kuei that was protecting its young. One had to know that the kuei's combat power was at its most terrifying at this time. The Beast King had already told everyone that his strength was unquestionable. At the same time, he was also warning Lu Chen that he would never show mercy to his enemies. Kid, you said you want to be the strongest warrior. Alright then, take out your sacrifice. Let us see if the sacrifice of the White Wolf tribe is a hyena or a water dog. The Beast King looked at Lu Chen with a faint smile. Laughter came from the Twin Dragon tribe. Do you still remember the sacrifice of the White Wolf tribe 2 years ago? What a joke, I really don't know how they have the face to participate in the ceremony. A tribe of 2,000 people, and they still call themselves a big tribe. Their pitiful self-esteem is really disgusting. This kind of tribe should be destroyed early. The rest of you can get more blessings from the god of the hunt. At this moment, many warriors finally realized that the leader was just a member of the White Wolf tribe. Their previously high spirits were instantly suppressed by the Beast King alone. Lu Chen looked at the Beast King, smiled, and said in a low voice, "Little Beast, what are you waiting for?" Little Beast finally woke up from its spectating state. It picked up the head of the golden lion in its tribesman's hand and threw it over from a few thousand meters away. Catching the golden lion's head steadily with one hand, Lu Chen looked at the Beast King indifferently. "I'm different from you. My prey was luckier. It died before it could even feel any pain." Chapter 1431. It died before it could even feel the pain. Two images flashed through everyone's minds. The Beast King angered a kuei that was guarding its cub. After a fierce battle, the Beast King finally killed the kuei. The White Wolf tribe's jackal encountered a golden hoe and the battle ended. Compared to the Beast King was much weaker. Lu Chen held the head of the guardian lion and sighed. "I'm sorry, I didn't have much experience in hunting this time. I just casually hunted one, and it's only a little bit stronger than a hyena." The Twin Dragon tribesmen were livid. Jackal, that bastard, slapped them in the face just because of what they just said. The golden hoe was also a 9th level beast, but there were differences in strength between 9th level beasts. The kuei's defense was very strong, but its attack and agility were lacking. The golden hoe's defense was also very strong. Their golden fur covered their entire body, giving them a strong defense. Moreover, they were more agile and had more terrifying attacks. The area where the golden fur hoe lived was known as the Land of Death, while the kuei cows lived in scattered areas. One territory had a name, while the other didn't. From this, it could be seen that people feared the golden fur hoe more than they feared the kuei cows. When the Beast King saw Lu Chen holding the golden hoe's head, the Beast King's eyes narrowed. "No wonder you're so confident. It turns out that you've hit the jackpot and picked up a dead golden fur hoe." As we all know, golden hoe often appear in groups. It's impossible for you to hunt one alone. Do you think we're so easy to fool? Lu Chen curled his lips. "Why do you care if I'm lucky or not? In terms of offerings, my offerings aren't lower than yours." Lu Chen then looked at the other warriors. "Do you think I'm qualified to compete for the title of number 1 warrior?" Most of the people were on Lu Chen's side, so they all agreed. "Since it's a general ceremony, it should be public. I think the White Wolf warrior has a 9th level offering, so he should be qualified to compete for the title of number 1 warrior. They're both 9th level offerings. Why can't the White Wolf warrior be number 1 warrior?" "I support the White Wolf warrior." At this time, thousands of people were supporting Lu Chen. The entire ceremony was in chaos. The high priest looked at the Beast King, who nodded at him. The high priest waved his scepter and shouted, "Silence! White Wolf warrior, what's your name?" "Jackal," Lu Chen shouted. "All right, since you've also provided a level 9 offering, you're qualified to compete for the position of the strongest warrior. Since you are a warrior, you should fight for honor and for the tribe. I challenge you to a duel with the Beast King. Do you dare to accept?" Lu Chen smiled. "If you want to spar, then I'll spar. But if you want a duel, then I'll have to agree." "Good." As expected of the White Wolf warrior, you have guts. The high priest immediately said, as if he did not want to give Lu Chen any chance to back out. Black Ape's heart was in his throat. He said in a trembling voice, "Duel? Why do we have to duel? Isn't it enough to just spar? Why do we have to take each other's lives?" "Brother Jackal, I told you not to stand out. What do you think we should do now?" He looked anxiously at the little beast, but the little beast just sighed. "Sigh, we're going to fight so soon. I wanted to see if there was another dance. Now it seems there's nothing to see." Black Ape looked at the little beast in shock. "100 Beast, Jackal is your father. How can you be so unconcerned?" The little beast saw that Black Ape was concerned about his father and had a better impression of him. He said sincerely, "Old Black, let me tell you. When I'm worried about my father, it's when he's almost dead. Even so, he's still alive now. That's why I'm starting to get numb to it. This kind of small scene is not interesting at all. I'd rather watch my father dance." After all, the little beast was someone who had followed Lu Chen through all kinds of situations. He didn't need to worry about this kind of small scene. Black Ape's face was full of doubt and confusion. "Why do I feel like Brother Jackal is going to die this time?" For Black Ape and the others, Jackal's current situation was already a hopeless situation. The little beast was still young after all. Black Ape turned to another tribe member and whispered, "Send word back. Say that Brother Jackal died for the tribe. Let the White Wolf King ask for a portion of Jackal's soul to rest in peace during the tribe's ceremony." That person looked at Lu Chen's back and sighed. The Beast King's strength had reached the peak of perfection. No one was his opponent. "Sigh, Jackal saved us. During this period of time, he got along well with us. He's already become a member of the White Wolf tribe. I didn't expect him to have the courage to accept the Beast King's duel. At least he didn't lose face for our White Wolf tribe. I'll go back now." With that, the man turned and ran into the forest. In the center of the ceremony area, the Beast King and Lu Chen stood opposite each other. The Beast King crossed his arms and looked at Lu Chen with a smile that wasn't a smile. "Jackal, I've said before that my prey will die miserably. Today is the day of the ceremony. I'll use your blood as an offering to the god of the hunt." The high priest gave the order and the duel began. The Beast King's whole body erupted with a terrifying spiritual power. A huge illusory figure appeared behind him. "Soul of the hunt. Earth's power tier." A huge crack appeared in the ground, connecting the Beast King and Lu Chen's feet. The Beast King suddenly disappeared. In the next second, a figure flashed through the crack and directly hugged Lu Chen from behind. The Beast King's 2 arms bulged with muscles. His 2 big hands clasped Lu Chen's chest. His fingers were about to dig into Lu Chen's flesh. "Ah boy, you've got guts? You dare to accept my duel? Then have a taste of being torn apart by me." However, the Beast King's fingers, which were as hard as steel, didn't break Lu Chen's flesh. "What's going on?" Lu Chen was surprisingly calm and said calmly, "If you ask me, I think you've got guts. Haven't you heard of this saying? Don't let the solipsistic get close to you?" As soon as Lu Chen's voice fell, he suddenly pressed his right hand on the Beast King's thick arm and squeezed hard. The Beast King's arm was directly deformed and collapsed. The Beast King let out a heart-wrenching scream. He hurriedly let go of his hand and held his right shoulder. Suddenly, a figure flashed and Lu Chen was already standing in front of him. With one hand behind his back, he formed a sword with his right hand and gently tapped the Beast King's forehead. "It doesn't matter if I kill you or not, but you're really a bit disgusting. You actually want to take my life? Then I'm sorry. You're already dead." There was a slight prickling sensation. Lu Chen put down his arm and directly picked up the head of the golden lion on the ground. He walked step by step towards the pyramid altar. Many people still didn't understand what happened. How did Jackal escape? Why didn't the Beast King react at all? Why did the Beast King stand there motionless after he tapped the Beast King's forehead with his finger? When Lu Chen had one foot on the stairs, a muffled sound suddenly came from behind him. In a bloody mist, Jackal climbed up the altar of the god of hunting. Chapter 1432. The entire ceremony was shocked into silence by this scene. It was no wonder that they couldn't figure it out. In this world, the strength of the Beast King was the ceiling. Ordinary people couldn't even hope to catch up to it. The Black Ape's mind was in a mess. Jackal clearly said that he killed the guardian lion, but how could this guy kill the Beast King instantly? And the Beast King didn't even have a chance to resist. This kind of crushing power had already exceeded their understanding. When Lu Chen came in front of the high priest trembled and didn't dare to move as if he was looking at a monster. Lu Chen snorted coldly. In the future, the white wolf will get 30% of the blessings of the god of hunting, and the other races will get 70%. Is there a problem? The high priest didn't dare to have any questions at this time. He said with a trembling voice, "No, no problem." Lu Chen turned his head away from the high priest. He carried the guardian lion's head to the altar. Behind the altar was a round pool made of metal. The pool was high on all sides and slightly low in the middle. In the middle stood a statue of a half-man, half-horse, holding a bow and arrow. It looked like it was shooting the sun. The half-human clan. Lu Chen frowned slightly. The humans here actually worshipped the half-human clan's god. Lu Chen had just arrived at the 8th layer of heaven, so he didn't know much about it. However, the celestial master Ziling and the others said that there hadn't been a god in the 8th layer of heaven for thousands of years. Therefore, even if there were a human god in the 8th layer of heaven, it would be extremely rare. "Hey, how do you talk to a god?" Lu Chen turned around and asked. The high priest shuddered. He was simply too afraid of Lu Chen. Seeing him suddenly speak, he jumped in fright. Fortunately, Lu Chen only wanted to ask about the process of the ceremony and didn't want to kill him. The high priest hurried over and bowed. "Please put the best product on the altar and drop the warrior's blood into the sacred blood pool where the god's statue is. If the god of hunting is satisfied with the warrior's tribute, the god's consciousness will descend and grant this year's god of hunting's blessing." Lu Chen nodded and placed the head of the guardian deity on the altar. He made a cut on the finger of his right hand and dripped his blood into the pool below the statue. The drop of blood followed the angle of the pool and slowly flowed towards the foot of the statue. A moment later, the blood finally came into contact with the left forelimb of the statue. With a boom, the entire altar of the pyramid began to shake. The high priest couldn't even stand properly. He had no choice but to hug the pillar beside him tightly. He shouted in horror, "What's going on? Why is there such a huge commotion? Could it be the arrival of the god of hunting?" The tremors quickly spread outward, and the ground around the pyramid began to shake violently. The towering trees in the distance directly collapsed. The ceremony was in a state of panic. What's going on? The whole earth is shaking. Is the god of the hunt angry? The originally cloudless sky was now covered with dark clouds. Lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and strong winds blew. Those who participated in the ceremony could not stand, so they all retreated into the forest and hugged the trees to stabilize themselves. Black Ape was almost swept away by the strong winds, but he was caught by Little Beast at the side and stabilized himself. Right now, the only ones still standing on the ground were probably the Little Beast and him. "Little Beast, what's going on? There has never been such a horrifying phenomenon when the gods descended in the past." Black Ape looked at the changes in the sky in horror. Little Beast finally put away its usual cynicism and frowned slightly as it looked at the sky above the pyramid. There, the clouds swirled and formed a huge vortex. A golden light shot down from the vortex. It seemed like something was coming down. Little Beast looked serious and said in a low voice, "Could it be that the god of the hunt is really coming down?" Little Beast stood at the top of the king pyramid. The strong wind lifted his long robe, but he stood still like a mountain. "Old Black, find a place to hide. The farther the better. This place might be destroyed," Little Beast said and gave Old Black a black tortoise shield. Then, it walked against the wind and walked up the altar of the pyramid. Little Beast came behind Lu Chen. "Dad, I don't know if it's that guy's real body that's coming down." Lu Chen also knew that if he fought with the god's real body now, it would not bode well for him. "Let's take a gamble," Lu Chen said. "I don't have much time left." Little Beast nodded and waited for the god to descend with its father. The clouds swirled until they were 1,000 meters thick. Finally, a solemn and low voice resounded through the sky. "Interesting. You're the human sovereign who entered the godly realm as a mortal, the solipsistic." Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the clouds. He said loudly, "That's right, it's me." So, you're here to fight for my territory? Lu Chen said, I'm not interested in your territory. I just want to know where the Hong Meng divine tree is. Haha, solipsistic, I heard that you're very arrogant. But don't you dare to tell me the truth after seeing me? An eighth heaven deity needs to have people to worship and collect the power of faith in order to cultivate the heavenly divine power. Although you're not a god and have yet to open the path to godhood, you've already broken through the upper limit of the human sovereign and walked on another path. I'm afraid you also need the power of faith. Lu Chen frowned. Currently, he did not have any ability related to the power of faith. He did not know if it was the god of hunting's wild guess or if he had missed something. I don't care about the others. I've already said that I'm not interested in your territory, Lu Chen reiterated. With a boom, thunder and lightning streaked across the sky, as if symbolizing the wrath of the gods. Solipsistic, you're declaring war on me by coming to my territory. Even if I'm just a lower god, I won't tolerate a mortal's arrogance. You want to know the location of the Hong Meng divine tree? I think you'd better go to hell and ask. As he spoke, a ball of golden light in the clouds became brighter and brighter, illuminating the horizon. A huge god of war slowly revealed his true form from the cloud vortex. Seeing the arrival of this god, the surrounding warriors did not care about resisting the strong wind and knelt down on the spot. Oh my god, the god of hunting has descended. Greetings, god of hunting. God of hunting, please grant us peace and safety in the Frost Snow tribe. May our entire family live a comfortable life. It's the real god of hunting. He has descended to the world. The god of hunting was 50 meters tall. A normal half-human, even the largest half-rhinoceros, was only 3 to 4 meters tall. However, this half-deer man was more than 50 meters tall. He held a huge golden bow in his hand and was ready to shoot. Solipsistic, with me here, you can only die. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. This is not his true form. Dad, how do you know? Even if he became a god, I don't believe that his body can grow so much. The statues in the Tower of Babel are only a dozen meters tall. How can this guy's true form be 50 meters tall? I don't believe it. Lu Chen stared at the god of hunting and said to Little Beast, stand down and act according to the situation. Then, Lu Chen shouted in a low voice, Celestial Demon Coexistence. His black hair was instantly dyed white, and a black spear slowly rose from the void. Lu Chen looked at the god of hunting. If you're here in your true form, I might be wary of you. Do you think you can kill me with just a war soul? Aren't you overestimating yourself? Since I'm here, I must know the answer. Either you tell me where the Hong Meng divine tree is, or die. Chapter 1433. An arrow light tore through space and arrived in front of Lu Chen in an instant. Lu Chen had already experienced the six-fold attack of a god's war soul in the Tower of Babel. However, Lu Chen did not know the strength of the god of the hunt's war soul compared to the war soul in the Tower of Babel, so he tried not to fight it head-on. In the Tower of Babel, the war soul's attack could not be avoided, but this was not the Tower of Babel. 9 void steps. Lu Chen's figure was like a flash of lightning, leaving only an afterimage. Then he disappeared. Trying to run? Do you think your opponent is a celestial prime? The god of the hunt snorted coldly, and the light arrow in his hand shot out. Hundreds of light arrows were shot toward Lu Chen's landing spot. Divine skill, dimensional arrow, sky explosion. These arrows were extremely fast. Lu Chen's eyes widened, and he did not have time to stop. He tried to dodge instantly. Boom boom boom. The arrows were nailed in midair, as if there was a layer of ground in the air. After each arrow landed, it directly detonated a layer of terrifying spiritual energy. The air rings exploded in this layer of space instantly, like fireworks exploding in the sky. Ring after ring, they swept across the sky. Little Beast could not help but be shocked at this scene. Was this a god's skill? It was obviously not on the same level as a celestial prime. The god of the hunt's dimensional arrow directly sealed off the entire sky. This was an attack that was unimaginable in the past. Lu Chen was even directly blown out of the 9 void steps. Emptiness of gods and demons arm. Dragon god form. Lu Chen hurriedly demonized his arm and tried his best to resist the spiritual energy attack of the dimensional arrow. The god of the hunt had the heavenly divine power, which meant that Lu Chen had to endure 100,000 times the damage. Even with the emptiness of gods and demons' arms' freakish defense, Lu Chen was still able to force people back time and time again, causing them to spit out mouthfuls of blood. I knew you had the emptiness of gods and demons' arm, but you didn't know that my dimensional arrow contains the power of resonance. It can penetrate your emptiness of gods and demons' arm and cause damage to your body directly. The god of the hunt drew his golden bow to the fullest, and a golden arrow appeared on the bow. A mere mortal like you wants to devour a god? Solipsistic, I will now let you know the true strength of a god. This is a height that you will never reach. Heaven's path divine skill, destruction, star-shattering arrow. Lu Chen gritted his teeth and endured the resonance damage from the planar arrow again and again as he stared at the golden arrow. Damn it, this deity's battle prowess is too terrifying, and his means are also impossible to guard against. When the divine archery was practiced to this extent, it was practically invincible. Sealing off the sky could prevent the opponent from getting close at all, and then he would go all out and attack crazily. Lu Chen had been through hundreds of battles, but in front of the god of the hunt, he was actually unable to fight back. After a short period of charging, the golden arrow had already pierced through the air and shot toward Lu Chen at an unbelievable speed. At the critical moment, Lu Chen shouted angrily, "God's descent!" Only a god's skill could resist a god's skill. With God's descent, Lu Chen finally dodged the star-shattering arrow. The arrow hit the ground directly, and the earth was instantly pierced through, forming a bottomless abyss. However, the power of the star-shattering arrow still didn't dissipate. Deep in the ground, there was a sudden burst of air, and then the 1,000-hectare forest was pushed 4 to 5 meters down at a rate visible to the naked eye. The entire Vero planet was shaking at this moment. Large swaths of giant trees fell, countless mountains collapsed, the earth cracked, and wild beasts howled. It was a real disaster. The power of this arrow was enough to change the landscape within a radius of 1,000 miles. Even Lu Chen couldn't help but be shocked. Was this the true power of a god? No, this was only the power of the god of the hunt's fighting soul. How can it be so strong? Lu Chen's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and he looked at the collapsed ground below in horror. Didn't this guy say that he was a lower god? He seemed to be the weakest type of god, but it was already so terrifying. Solipsistic, I underestimated you. The god of the hunt instantly appeared not far away from Lu Chen. Lu Chen had God's descent, and he seemed to have some kind of god-level body movement technique. The god of the hunt looked at Lu Chen coldly. Weren't you quite arrogant before? Why are you scared now? Lu Chen panted heavily and stared at the god of the hunt. You are more powerful than the fighting souls in the Tong Tian Tower. Ha! The god of the hunt laughed wildly. Have you forgotten that there are strong and weak fighting souls? The fighting souls in the Tong Tian Tower are only there to select those who are qualified to enter the 8 levels of heaven. I am talking about those who are qualified. They are far from becoming true gods. Such a selection doesn't need us to do anything. Our fighting souls are still very useful. The gods in charge of the Tong Tian Tower are gods who don't have their own territories and are only there to exchange for some power of faith. How can they be compared to me? Alright, although to be honest, I admire your ability to go against the heavens. I will never let you live. This arrow will send you on your way. Lu Chen took a deep breath. Other than the virtual form, which he didn't have time to activate, he activated all the enhancement modes. At the same time, he drew out the infinite celestial demon sword. Lu Chen couldn't hold back against the god of the hunt's fighting soul. I said, either you tell me where the Hong Meng divine tree is, or you die. Lu Chen said in a low voice. The god of the hunt smirked. You are about to die, yet you are still so stubborn. Do you think you are qualified to threaten a god? Divine skill, arrow of the dimension, black hole. A pitch-black arrow shot out from the giant bow. The black arrow exploded right in front of Lu Chen. Then, a huge suction force came from the black hole. A spinning black hole appeared in midair. Lu Chen would never have expected this move. This guy had at least 3 divine skills, and each of them was so powerful. Lu Chen gathered all the spiritual energy in his body and shouted, "God's advent." However, he found that he didn't move. The god of the hunt sneered. "Solipsistic God's advent, it seems like you haven't mastered it yet. I spent 1,000 years on this black hole. Do you think you can escape with just a divine skill? You can never escape from the black hole." Lu Chen was being pulled into the black hole by a huge suction force. Even God's advent couldn't break free, let alone skills like 9 steps on the void, triple gate, and rapid movement. An irresistible force was pulling Lu Chen step by step toward the bloody mouth of the black hole. Damn it! Tiger descends the mountain. Void attack, sacred lotus sword heart. Void attack, suppressive fire. Ice flame sword. Heaven's fury spear. Endless dawn. Black heaven earth fiend. Heaven burning earth fire. Lu Chen used almost everything he had learned in his life, but the black hole swallowed all his attacks. No matter how fierce and crazy Lu Chen's attacks were, they all disappeared like clay oxen entering the sea. "Dead. Don't come over!" Lu Chen roared. At this time, even if Little Beast, Little Furball, and Little Originator came, they couldn't break free. On the contrary, they would be pulled into the black hole together. Solipsistic God, this is the difference between a mortal and a god. You can't even defeat my war soul, and you still want to survive in the 8th heaven? Dream on. Just when Lu Chen was at his wit's end and was about to be pulled into the black hole, suddenly, Lu Chen's heart skipped a beat. It seemed like a guy in his beast pen had woken up. Chapter 1434. Are true immortals so powerful now? A voice filled with vicissitudes of life sounded in Lu Chen's mind. Rhubarb. Lu Chen struggled to resist the suction of the black hole while his mind was in a mess. "Master," Rhubarb replied. "You're finally awake. This isn't a true immortal, this is a lower god." "Lower god? Master, you've reached the 8th heaven?" Rhubarb was obviously still stuck in its memory when it fell asleep. Who would have thought that it had already reached the 8th heaven in the blink of an eye? After all, Rhubarb had fallen asleep because of the breakthrough. Now that it had finally woken up, it could speak human language. It was clear that Rhubarb was no longer the Rhubarb of the past. Lu Chen said anxiously, "Rhubarb, do you have a way to break this move? The closer I get to this damn thing, the stronger the gravitational force. I can't hold on any longer." "Master, I'm powerless now. I can't help you defeat the black hole." When Lu Chen heard this, the only life-saving straw in his heart was gone. Rhubarb had evolved by 1 heaven. What had he evolved into? "Master, where's Little Beast?" Rhubarb's voice sounded again. "Down there. Let him come over. We'll enter the black hole together." Lu Chen was stunned. Rhubarb meant that he couldn't leave Little Beast alone? "Master, trust me." Lu Chen didn't have much time left. Lu Chen hesitated for a moment and finally chose to trust Rhubarb. "Little Beast, come here quick." Little Beast didn't understand the situation, but he had absolute trust in his father. Even if he knew that it was a mountain of daggers and a sea of flames, he wouldn't hesitate to summon his father. "I'm coming, dude. I'll help you." Unfortunately, Little Beast couldn't resist the black hole's gravitational force. The two of them were sucked into the black hole. Seeing that Lu Chen was finally sucked into the black hole, the god of hunt laughed wildly. "Haha, human sovereign? How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? In less than a day, you will all be reduced to ashes in the black hole." The moment they entered the black hole, Lu Chen and the little critter were wrapped in a mass of light at the same time. Both of them didn't feel anything unusual before they were sucked into the boundless darkness. With the protection of the spirit shield, the two of them did not feel the black hole. "Dad, is this your spirit shield?" Little Beastie looked strangely at the light barrier that enveloped them. "Dad shouldn't have this kind of spirit shield." No, it might be rhubarb's. Rhubarb? That guy woke up? The little beast was shocked. Lu Chen summoned Fluffy, Originator, Rhubarb, and the little golden carp. When Rhubarb appeared, everyone was shocked. At this moment, Rhubarb was no longer that grayish-yellow little mutt. It had become extremely terrifying. Its dirty brown hair had turned into pure black hair. Its eyes were blood red, and its face was like a mix of a dragon and a dog. When it opened its mouth, it revealed sharp fangs. Its height had reached more than 10 meters. Under its black hair, one could vaguely see its well-proportioned muscles. Even when compared to Originator in its white tiger form, Rhubarb's body size was not inferior to Originator's. Your Rhubarb? Everyone's eyes widened. Only the little golden carp tilted its head and looked curiously at Rhubarb, wondering what kind of creature it was. Lu Chen was also very surprised. This guy had changed so much after evolving. It even dyed its hair? The group of people stayed far away from Rhubarb. With its blood-red eyes and fangs, Rhubarb did not look like a good guy. Little Critter said guiltily, "Rhubarb, I have to explain. In fact, we have always liked you. When you were sleeping, no, when you were cultivating, we were afraid that your muscles would atrophy, so we pulled you to exercise." Rhubarb opened its mouth, and its mouth was full of saliva, showing its ferocity. Squeak, squeak. Fluffy squeaked a few times at Rhubarb. During the fight, it had only bitten Rhubarb more than 70 times. Originator said that it had really stepped on Rhubarb by accident. Obviously, Rhubarb had changed. Lu Chen thought that when Rhubarb asked him to enter the black hole, it did not sound strange. However, when he was released, he found that Rhubarb had undergone earth-shaking changes. He could feel some kind of aura from Rhubarb. It was an unprecedented aura of brutality and darkness. Even the 4 ferocious beasts could not compare to Rhubarb's brutal aura. Lu Chen had to try to persuade Rhubarb to change his attitude toward Rhubarb. "Rhubarb, even if little golden carp comes, you won't lose your job. I promise. You have always been the best cheerleader in my heart." Finally, Rhubarb opened his mouth. "What are you talking about? What activity? Originator? Did you step on me? I was wondering why I was suddenly hit by a meteorite when I was lifting the all-ages seal. I couldn't even dodge it." Xiao Yuan rolled his eyes and immediately shook his head like a rattledrum. Lu Chen suddenly asked, "Rhubarb, you said that you were lifting the all-ages seal? What do you mean?" Rhubarb thought for a moment, then sat down and heaved a sigh. "As a matter of fact, I was..." Rhubarb raised his head, only to see a bunch of people gazing at him attentively. Obviously, they were all curious about his identity. "As a matter of fact, I was the Dark Devil Lord from outer space. However, my body was sealed by 100 Jyotian overgods." Overgods? Lu Chen's eyes were wide open. "Hundreds of overgods besieged me. They were really unscrupulous." Rhubarb was still furious when he recalled what had happened in the past. "However, even if they could restrain me, they couldn't completely destroy my physical body. Therefore, those despicable fellows thought of ways to weaken my spirit core. In the end, they even sealed my memories in the myriad realms, and I became the big yellow that you speak of. I met Mu Xian by chance. Instinctively, I sensed that he was very strong in the mortal world. He seemed to have sensed the difference in me, so he kept me as his pet. Unfortunately, he was just an individual immortal with a limited upper limit. Entrusted by your father to protect his world, he found you, Master. Master, you know what happened later. However, I didn't expect that you could find the 9 Revolutions Golden Crow Mirror. Although the level of this treasure is not high, I felt a familiar aura when Master obtained the 9 Revolutions Golden Crow Mirror. The world within the 9 Revolutions Golden Crow Mirror is an illusory world, but one can continuously be reborn in the 9 Revolutions Golden Crow Mirror. Those overgods probably didn't expect that they had sealed my memories. However, they couldn't completely erase them. I was reborn again and again. After tens of thousands of times, I finally regained all my memories bit by bit. After my memories were unsealed, part of my abilities were also freed. Rhubarb raised his head, only to see that the people in front of him had been completely petrified. The Dark Devil Lord from outer space? Rhubarb? How could the two be connected? I believe that my attributes are definitely not lower than a lower god's, but they have the heavenly path divine power that can deal 100,000 times the damage. I am restrained in every way. Even their fighting souls make it difficult for me to fight them head-on. Master, the heavenly path divine power suppresses mortals not only in Jyotian, but also in outer space. If you want to go further, you must find a way to solve this problem. Lu Chen sighed. What can I do? Master, you broke through the 9-star Human King stage and reached the 18-star Human King stage. Then, you advanced to the Human Emperor stage. In fact, you have opened up your own cultivation path. Rhubarb said. Perhaps, there is a way to solve the heavenly path divine power in your cultivation path. Lu Chen furrowed his brows as he carefully recalled the events. Actually, when I was in the Tower of Babel, I thought that I would definitely die when I blocked the war spirit's sixfold attack. However, I survived in the end. Mu Long and the others thought that my defense was amazing, or that my Buddha body clone really helped me block most of the attack. But in reality, when I saw Mu Long's lonely figure hanging by a thread, I only stimulated the potential of my body. At that time, I felt that the other party's attack was not as terrifying as 100,000 times. As Lu Chen thought about it, his eyes suddenly widened. Could it be because of some hidden attribute of the Human Emperor stage? Master, you have to comprehend this yourself. After all, I have not cultivated to the Human Emperor stage. Rhubarb said. The Day Tengu spirit shield can withstand the pressure of the black hole for 7 days. If Master can comprehend it, I will bring you out of the black hole and kill the fighting souls. Maybe you will have a chance of survival. This is also the reason why I let you enter the black hole first. If Lu Chen could not comprehend the way to resist the divine power of the heavenly path, then even if Rhubarb broke through the black hole, they would still die in the end. Entering the black hole was to buy time for Lu Chen. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Although he was also confused now, they had no other choice. They had to try. Okay, I will try. After saying that, Lu Chen sat cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. In his mind, he began to carefully perceive every detail of the battle in the Tong Tian Tower, every minute perception of the battle with the god of Hunt, Little Beast and the others surrounded Rhubarb and repeatedly sized up Rhubarb. Brother Dog, were you really the dark demon sovereign in the past? Were you the most powerful demon in the outer world? Little Beast was very interested in Rhubarb. Not the strongest, just one of the strongest, Rhubarb said indifferently. Are the demons in the outer world so powerful? They can fight with the divine lords? Rhubarb shook his head. I was sealed by them. Besides, the divine lords are not the strongest in the Jyotian. The divine lords are only the strongest in the 8th heaven. There is the last heaven in the Jyotian. I don't know what lives there. How about your current strength? I have less than 1 in 100,000 left. I need to start practicing the ultimate heavenly demon power again, but it will take a long time to complete it. Is there really less than 1/100,000 left? Little Beastie, Little Harry, and Little Originator were very concerned about Big Yellow. Rhubarb was quite daring. He nodded and said, well, 1 in 100,000 is just a casual remark. If you calculate it carefully, it may be less than 1 in a million. The three beasts nodded heavily. They looked at each other and immediately understood each other's thoughts. The three beasts rushed up and hugged Rhubarb, pinching and biting him, and ravaged him. I was really frightened by your identity just now. Now, it seems that there is nothing to be afraid of. What demon lord? With 1 in a million combat strength, you are still trash. Isn't that right, Rhubarb? No, it's Blackie. Rhubarb, the demon lord of the outer world, was being suppressed by the three beasts. Fluffy, if you bite me again, I will get angry. Little Yuan, get your ass off me. Little Beast, what are you doing throwing bones at me? Do you think I will pick them up? Little Golden Carp looked at the four beasts fooling around and snickered. Regardless of Rhubarb's identity, the three beasts still regarded him as Rhubarb. However, she was still worried about her benefactor. She turned to look at Lu Chen. It was rare that her benefactor could still maintain a high level of concentration in such a chaotic environment. Perhaps he had already gotten used to it. Could her benefactor find a way to break the divine power of the heavenly Tao in 7 days? Chapter 1436. Although Rhubarb had become the Dark Demon Sovereign, his treatment had only improved for a moment before returning to the original point. At least until he had some achievements in practicing the Heavenly Demon technique again, he was still Rhubarb in the team. After 4 days in the black hole, the battle pets finally became well-behaved. Now, they could only wait for their boss to comprehend the ability of the human emperor to compete with the divine power of the heavenly path. In the past few days, Lu Chen had been in a state of cultivation, repeatedly replaying the feeling of the battle in the Tower of Babel in his mind. At that time, Lu Chen had already been determined to die and had stimulated the potential of his whole body to take that blow. Lu Chen kept thinking, if the divine power of the heavenly path came from the faith of mortals, then the ability of the human emperor could only come from himself. However, where did the power to weaken the divine power of the heavenly path come from? Suddenly, Lu Chen opened his eyes. Seeing that Lu Chen had woken up, the 5 beasts hurriedly surrounded him. "Dad, have you found a way to break it?" Lu Chen looked dignified, shook his head and said, "During the battle in the Tower of Babel, I was in a state of inner demons. My consciousness was blurred and I had no time to care about this. I still haven't found any special ability of the human emperor." Rhubarb suddenly said, "Boss, I'll take you back to that time to have a look." Rhubarb opened his mouth and the 9 turns golden crow mirror flew out from his mouth. "Boss, the 9 turns golden crow mirror can let you return to the environment in the dream, but now its energy is about to be exhausted and can only take you back 3 times. Lu Chen nodded, "Okay." When Lu Chen entered the dream of the 9 turns golden crow mirror, he opened his eyes and found that he was on the 7th floor of the Tower of Babel. Gu Ying and Mu Long were standing in front of Lu Chen. Gu Ying was covered in blood, Mu Long's arms were broken, and he was in full condition. The amazing thing was that Lu Chen's consciousness was attached to his own body. At this time, Lu Chen's body did not know that there was a consciousness of his own, and Lu Chen's consciousness could not make any changes to his body. He was more like a bystander. Seeing that his good friend was risking his life to block the attack of the deity War Soul, Lu Chen acted as if it was a conditioned reflex. He unleashed all the spiritual energy in his body and rushed toward the opponent's killing move. At this moment, Lu Chen quickly checked his spirit core. At this moment, his spirit core was spinning rapidly, and the liquid spirit energy was boiling inside his body like boiling water. Just as Lu Chen's 2 powerful moves collided with his opponent's skill, Lu Chen was nearly annihilated by his opponent's attack. At this moment, Lu Chen's spirit core underwent an instantaneous change. Lu Chen's spirit core suddenly swelled up. At the same time, a large amount of spirit qi surrounded the spirit core. Although the spirit core was only slightly bigger, Lu Chen was able to block the attack of the evil spirit god War Soul. When Lu Chen fainted, he automatically withdrew from the great virtual form. At the same time, his spirit core also returned to its original state. When he returned to the original environment, Lu Chen's consciousness did not faint. He could clearly see the shock in the eyes of the evil spirit god War Soul. Not long after, Mu Long, Gu Ying, and the little beast all woke up. Mu Long crawled over to check on Lu Chen's situation. Gu Ying said that he wanted half of Lu Chen's title. The scene in his memory repeated itself. Suddenly, Lu Chen was pulled out of the heaven-reaching pagoda by a force. When he opened his eyes again, he had already returned to the great emperor's spirit shield, floating in the endless darkness. "Master, did you find anything?" Rhubarb asked anxiously. Lu Chen was still thinking about what he had seen just now. He said, "There are still 2 more times. Rhubarb, bring me back to take a look." But the second time he returned to the heaven-reaching pagoda. This time, Lu Chen observed even more carefully. The third time, when Lu Chen woke up, the 9 revolutions golden crow mirror was already dim. Lu Chen did not say a word and directly entered a cultivation state. The expansion of the spirit core was the key to resisting the heavenly Tao's divine power. The question now was why the spirit core had expanded and what was the opportunity that caused it to expand. Gods relied on the power of faith of mortals, but what about him? Lu Chen repeatedly simulated the battle situation in his mind. After hundreds of simulations, Lu Chen suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Gods relied on the power of faith of mortals, but he did not rely on the faith of others, but on constantly breaking through the limits. From the 9-star human monarch, Lu Chen had broken through 3 12th grade heavenly tribulations, which was the result of breaking through the limits of his physical body and spirit core. To advance to the human sovereign, he had relied on himself to experience 3 lifetimes and become a human monarch 100 times in 1 lifetime. It was a breakthrough in the comprehension of time and cultivation speed. What he had been doing to become the human sovereign was to constantly break through his own limits and the limits of his cultivation level. Only in this way could he fight against the gods with the body of a mortal. At the last moment of the battle with the evil spirit god's war soul, at the moment of life and death, he had also broken through the limits. Gods relied on the faith of others to obtain the heavenly Tao's divine power, but Lu Chen relied on his own incomparably firm faith. At this moment, Lu Chen opened his eyes. However, there was no longer confusion in his eyes, and his gaze was incomparably magnanimous and clear. "Boss." Rhubarb had already seen the difference in Lu Chen. "You've comprehended it?" Lu Chen nodded. "Gods can obtain the power of faith of mortals, but I'm just a mortal and can't obtain the power of faith of others." Everyone frowned when they heard this. "Dad, how are you going to deal with the god of the hunt?" Lu Chen took a deep breath and stood up, his eyes fixed on the endless darkness in front of him. "Since you're a mortal, you must have the awareness of a mortal. Only by constantly surpassing the limits can you fight against the gods." "Rhubarb, bring us out." Rhubarb was stunned for a moment, then suddenly understood. "I understand. Boss is the human sovereign, but he's a mortal after all. He can't obtain the power of faith. This is unavoidable, but his will is indestructible. His faith is himself, and he is the key to resisting the heavenly Tao's divine power. And as his war pets, we will also inherit this power. Everyone, are you ready?" Big Yellow looked at everyone. "This time, when we head out, it's very likely that we'll be facing a demigod." Little Beast smiled. "Rhubarb, hurry up. I'm dying of boredom here. As long as we follow Dad, we'll appear wherever Dad is, whether it's a mountain of blades, a sea of flames, or a sea of demons." Little Furball jumped onto Lu Chen's shoulder and rubbed its little head against Lu Chen, indicating that it would not be separated from Boss. Little Originator and Little Golden Carp also stood beside Lu Chen. From the looks of it, everyone was ready. Rhubarb nodded. His expression began to become ferocious, finally revealing his true appearance as the Dark Demon Sovereign. "Then let's begin." Suddenly, outside of Dai Tengu's spirit shield, in the endless darkness, a bright light abruptly appeared. Divine Talisman, Supreme Heavenly Demon Art, Heavenly Demon Remnant Heart. Immediately after, the light was like an explosion of light in the sky, instantly illuminating the entire black hole space. Chapter 1437. The god of hunting's war soul had yet to leave Varro Star. The black hole in the sky had been there for 5 days. The surrounding trees and altars had all disappeared. "Why haven't you digested Solipsistic and the rest?" The god of hunting's war soul was puzzled. Even a lower god with the same strength as my original body wouldn't be able to hold on for so long. Just as he was feeling puzzled, a ray of light suddenly exploded in the black hole. The god of hunting watched the ray of light explode before he could figure out what was going on. In an instant, a white light flashed across the sky and engulfed him. At the same time, the black hole disappeared. Lu Chen, Little Beast, and the rest appeared in the sky. "We're finally out." Little Beast took a deep breath. Where's that lower god's war soul? He's dead. Rhubarb said calmly, the heavenly demon's remnant heart is one of my killer moves. I sealed this move in a talisman. Its power is almost the same as when I used it myself. Back then, I could kill countless lower gods with a single move of mine. How could a mere lower god war soul like him survive my move? However, before Rhubarb could continue talking about his past experience, a bolt of lightning flashed across the sky. With a bang, it was as if someone was tearing the sky apart. How dare you destroy my war soul? A furious voice resounded through the sky. It was difficult to tell the direction, as if the sky had opened its mouth. Solipsistic, I've activated the god-trapping formation in this realm. You can't escape. Tomorrow will be the day you and your beasts die. Lu Chen looked solemn. It seemed that this guy couldn't directly descend into this realm now. However, he had a backup plan. He had set up a formation in this realm to prevent Lu Chen and the rest from escaping. Moreover, it wouldn't take long for him to descend. He would arrive in a day. It seemed that the gods were very strict about the realms where they obtained the power of faith. After the voice finished speaking, there was no more news. Lu Chen and the rest landed on the ground. Dad, there's only one day. What should we do? Lu Chen nodded. It's a little better than we expected. Let's recover here and wait for him to come. With only one day left, Lu Chen had no time to make any preparations. The only thing he could do now was to adjust himself to his best condition. This time, it was a real battle with the gods. Lu Chen was also very cautious. He used the remaining time to repeatedly consolidate his understanding. The next day, just after noon, the sky was already covered with dark clouds. Seeing the dark cloud vortex in the sky appear again, Lu Chen immediately activated the heart of the celestial demon, inner demon state. The little beast and the others were also prepared for the final battle. On a distant mountain, many figures were moving. They were all paying attention to the situation here. Yesterday, the god of the hunt said that it was his war soul. In other words, Jackal is going to fight the real god of the hunt. This is unbelievable. He Yuan couldn't believe his eyes. When they first met, Jackal said that he wasn't the god of the hunt. Since then, Lu Chen lived like an ordinary person in the White Wolf tribe. But now, he had to fight against a god. This was something that mortals couldn't imagine. Can man defeat the heavens? Impossible. Jackal must be crazy. Is it really the god of the hunt's real body? In the rolling cloud vortex, a golden light shot down and sprinkled on the ground. Not long after, a figure appeared in midair along with the golden light. It was the god of the hunt. However, this god of the hunt was only 7 to 8 meters tall. After a while, his body shrunk until it was about the same size as Lu Chen. Suspended in midair, the god of the hunt looked coldly at Lu Chen. Solipsistic, you dare to wait for me here? You've got guts. Lu Chen had been in the inner demon state for a while. His eyes were red as he shouted angrily, "Cut the crap. I'll ask you again. Are you going to tell me where the Hong Meng heavenly tree is? How dare you be so presumptuous in front of me?" The god of the hunt's voice was like thunder. This time, I'll let you understand the gap between you and a god. It's a chasm that you'll never be able to cross. After saying that, the god of the hunt raised one hand and a golden longbow appeared in his hand. It's your honor to die under my golden scaled sunset bow. It's not certain who will die. Lu Chen said angrily. Celestial demon symbiosis. Dragon god form. Celestial demon heaven's might, dragon blood boiling, emptiness of gods and demons arm, celestial demon heavenly eye, celestial demon astral body. Lu Chen activated all the states in his body and pushed his combat strength to the peak. At this time, the virtual form was also ready. Virtual form. Lu Chen's right arm quickly demonized. A black and white long sword and a black spear both appeared beside Lu Chen. The god of the hunt snorted coldly. He had already drawn his longbow to the fullest. The originally empty arrow was now knocked with a golden spiritual arrow. How dare you not die when a god wants you dead? How dare you resist? Perish for me. Godly technique, arrow of the plane, 3 realms earth arrow. Lu Chen was particularly violent now. When he saw the god of the hunt attack, he immediately charged forward. Virtual form, void god-destroying spear, endless dawn. Virtual form, true fire ice sword, polar ice flame sword. This time, Lu Chen's strategy was completely different from before. He activated all the states and used his strongest move. There was no way out. Dad is stimulating his potential. He's forcing himself into a desperate situation. You're courting death. The god of the hunt was not afraid of Lu Chen's challenge. He shot an arrow, and suddenly there was a loud boom in the sky. An arrow from the bowstring had already shot toward Lu Chen in an instant. At this time, even though Rhubarb and the others knew that their boss had some understanding of the special abilities of the human sovereign realm, they could not help but feel nervous. Was Lu Chen going to take the arrow of a true god head-on? Lu Chen's 2 killer moves collided with the 3 realms earth arrow. The moment the 2 sides came into contact, Lu Chen felt an earth-shattering pressure crazily rushing towards him. With a puff, Lu Chen spat out a mouthful of blood and almost lost consciousness. However, if he passed out now, he would definitely die. Lu Chen gritted his teeth and used his spear and sword to block in front of him. He tried his best to resist the unparalleled arrow of a true god. The god of the hunt sneered, "Solipsistic god, can you resist my heavenly Tao divine power?" Then, another golden arrow appeared on his golden sunset bow. "I'll send you on your way. Die in peace." At this time, the liquid spiritual power in Lu Chen's body was boiling crazily. At the moment when he resisted the 3 realms earth arrow, his spirit core was spinning rapidly. Quick! Breakthrough, the limit. Lu Chen's eyes were about to pop out, and his face was ferocious. Seeing that the king of the hunt's second arrow was about to shoot, Lu Chen's spirit core was spinning rapidly. Finally, with a thump, it expanded slightly like a beating heart. In an instant, Lu Chen felt the pressure on him decrease sharply. Inverse soul roaming dragon. Lu Chen roared and changed his move. He used 2 spear moves in a row to deflect the 2 3 realms earth arrow. The god of the hunt looked at Lu Chen in shock, his eyes full of horror. How is this possible? How can you block the attack of my real body? Last time in the Tower of Babel, Lu Chen had fainted after activating the special effect of the human sovereign stage. However, this time, Lu Chen was still conscious. Outside the spirit core, steam surrounded Lu Chen. At the same time, Lu Chen was also surrounded by steam. His Pisces robe and his white hair fluttered with the steam. He was suspended in midair, his left and right hands holding a sword and spear respectively. Then, Lu Chen raised his head slightly, revealing a pair of blood-red eyes. "You have the heavenly Tao divine power? I'm sorry, but I have the ultimate power of the human Tao." Chapter 1438. The Limit of Humanity? The god of the hunt narrowed his eyes, but he soon understood. It's still humanity. How can it be compared to the heavenly axiom? Lu Chen sneered. Do you gods like to be so self-righteous? Without the 100,000 times damage, I can clearly tell you that you god are already dead. After saying that, Lu Chen's figure shot toward the god of the hunt. The god of the hunt's eyes were full of contempt. Without the 100,000 times damage, I can still kill you. Divine skill, dimensional arrow, sky explosion. Hundreds of arrows shot out. It was the same skill that sealed off the sky. Lu Chen had already seen the power of this skill. Once it exploded, the entire sky would be covered in countless explosions. Lu Chen growled. What a joke! Are gods afraid of being approached by mortals? Unfortunately, you can't escape. Tiger descends the mountain. Virtual form, sacred lotus sword heart. The godly demon infinite sword in his hand shot out thousands of sword auras toward the opponent's arrows. The sword auras and the dimensional arrow collided in midair. Countless violent spiritual vibrations rumbled in the sky. Every sound made the prisoners within 1,000 miles tremble in fear. Black Ape and the others watched the battle in the sky from afar. They were so scared that their faces turned pale. Is the sky falling? Is Valor Planet going to be destroyed? Are jackals and wolves really mortals? But how can mortals be so strong? Can they fight against gods? In the sky, the sacred Lotus Sword Heart's crazy attacks stopped the dimensional arrow from sealing off the sky. Lu Chen was like a black shadow, shooting toward the god of the hunt. The god of the hunt's eyes widened in anger. He pulled the golden scale sunset bow to its limit again and temporarily accumulated power. The divine skill, arrow of destruction, sacred explosive arrow. This arrow shot out instantly. The arrow turned into a virtual image that was hundreds of meters long. It was burning with heavenly fire, and even the surrounding air became hazy from the heat. Virtual form, God-destroying void spear, endless dawn. Virtual form, true fire ice sword, extreme ice flame explosion sword. A deafening boom reverberated through heaven and earth. The god of the hunt was also shaken to the core. This guy actually managed to block the more powerful sacred explosive arrow. This move was full of fire attacks, but now it seemed that he had used the wrong element, because the fire element of Lu Chen's polar ice flame burst sword was not lower than his. This fellow is actually so difficult to deal with. What was the pinnacle of humanity? Why can it counteract the suppression of the gods on mortals? However, before the god of the hunt could figure it out, Lu Chen suddenly roared, "God's arrival." Suddenly, Lu Chen appeared behind the god of the hunt. After all, the god of the hunt was a god. His reaction was extremely fast. As soon as he realized that Lu Chen was close to him, he shouted, "Teleportation of heaven and earth." Unfortunately, Lu Chen would not give him the chance to escape. The Dharmakaya of the 3,000 worlds descended, leaving no trace in the world as the arrival of God. Even though Lu Chen was only at the beginner stage of God's arrival and could not travel freely in 3,000 worlds without a trace, it was definitely more than enough to move around in this world. The god of the hunt's teleportation of heaven and earth moved 1,000 meters away. However, in the next second, a cold light flashed behind him. Lu Chen was already behind him. Damn, it's so fast. The god of the hunt hurriedly shot an arrow behind him and took the opportunity to move a few thousand meters away. However, Lu Chen was like the god of the hunt's shadow. He could not get rid of him. Little Beast and the rest wanted to help, but at this stage of the battle, they realized a serious problem. Damn, it seems like we can't keep up with their movement speed. The little critter looked at the empty sky in a daze. Those two people were no longer here. Only a series of rumbling sounds could be heard from afar. That side of the sky was flashing with a colorful halo of light. Rhubarb nodded and said, "This is a battle between gods. It's not on the same level as immortals, let alone mortals. Back then, when I fought with the Master God, I jumped between planets. That was the real deal of breaking stars with a flick of a finger and destroying all life with a thought." Little Beast looked at Rhubarb with disdain. "I say, Rhubarb, a real man doesn't boast about his past achievements. You have to know your place now. Speaking of which, we have to become stronger as soon as possible. Otherwise, we can't keep up with the battle between gods." As they spoke, Lu Chen and the god of the hunt returned to the sky above them. Lu Chen's attacks were like crazy. The god of the hunt, an archer, did not have a chance to attack at all. He was in an extremely sorry state. Sky-piercing sword, mysterious heaven and earthly evil, spear of heaven and earth. Lu Chen roared. The god of the hunt shot the earth arrow of the three realms to the ground to stop Lu Chen's sky-piercing sword. Then, he used the golden sunset bow to block Lu Chen's sky-piercing sword. The god of the hunt was also very powerful to be able to break two of Lu Chen's killer moves in an instant. However, he did not expect that at this moment, a beam of spiritual energy would fall from the sky and hit his head directly. After being hit by the spear of heaven and earth, the god of the hunt fell directly from the sky. Seeing this, little Furball was extremely excited and scurried in the direction where the god of the hunt fell. Not long after, the god of the hunt's wails could be heard from the forest in the distance. It's the god-devouring rat. Ugh. Chapter 1439. The god of the hunt was even more terrified of Little Furball than of Lu Chen. Under Little Furball's gaze, the arrogant god of the hunt trembled like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. At this point he was no different from an ordinary person. Rhubarb said, "Gods have ways to escape, but unfortunately you met the God-Eater rat. Even if you can jump between worlds, once you're targeted by the God-Eater rat, you won't be able to escape. So, I advise you to tell the truth." Only then did Lu Chen remember that Little Furball had a skill. Once it locked onto its prey, it would not be able to escape. However, Lu Chen did not know that Little Furball could travel through 10,000 realms. It was not until Big Yellow told him that he knew how powerful Little Furball was. Perhaps this was why the god of the hunt was so afraid of Little Furball. "I'll tell you." After weighing the pros and cons, the god of the hunt finally lowered his head. "But you have to sign a contract with me. If I tell you, you'll let me go. Otherwise, even if you kill me, I'll die anyway. Why should I do as you wish?" Lu Chen looked at the god of the hunt in surprise. This guy knew he would go back on his word. Lu Chen snorted. "Since you're so stubborn, I'll find the Hong Meng divine tree myself. Little Furball, let's eat." Hearing this, Little Furball rubbed its little paws excitedly and was about to pounce. I'll tell you. The god of the hunt took a deep breath and looked at Lu Chen. "Solipsistic god, I didn't expect you to activate your human extremity without the power of faith. I misunderstood you. I thought you were here to steal my power of faith. I became a lower god less than 700 years ago. Only people from 3 worlds provide me with power of faith. Among the lower gods, heavenly god power is at the bottom. It takes a few generations of effort to make the people of each world believe in me, a god. Losing even one is a huge loss to me. I'm only going against you to protect myself." Lu Chen frowned slightly. Was this guy starting to play the emotional card? "Why are you talking to me about this? Tell me where the Hong Meng divine tree is." "The Hong Meng divine tree exists in all Jiutian realms," the god of the hunt said. "You should be asking about its main trunk. His main body? I don't know where it is." Lu Chen gasped. "God of the hunt, you've been beating around the bush for so long, and all you're telling me is that you don't know?" Furball. No. Mad god, calm down. Listen carefully." The god of the hunt hastily interrupted Lu Chen and said anxiously, "The Hong Meng divine tree has already cultivated to become a god. How can I be sure where he is?" Lu Chen was stunned. "Cultivate to become a god?" "Yes, and he's one of the 8 supreme core gods of the 8th heaven," the king of hunters said. "The Hong Meng divine tree has already transformed." This is something that all the gods know. Transformation? Become a god? Lu Chen's mind buzzed. The Hong Meng divine tree can produce treasures by itself. Can it transform into a god? Then wouldn't it be invincible? The god of the hunt said, "You can say that. The 8 supreme core gods of the 8th heaven are all super powerhouses with extraordinary abilities. It's said that each supreme core god has existed longer than the Jiutian. Although the Jiutian has the last 9th heaven domain, no one knows what kind of terrifying beings exist in the 9th heaven. It's even doubtful whether there are any gods in there. At least in the known 8th heaven, a lower deity like me can only look up to him. I'll never be able to catch up to his strength." Lu Chen was silent for a while. The Hong Meng divine tree was a supreme core god. Lu Chen had a feeling that Mu Sheng's departure had something to do with the Hong Meng divine tree's consciousness. If there was a conflict between the two, he might not be a match for the Hong Meng divine tree. Even if Rhubarb was at his peak, he might not be a match for an opponent of this level. From the god of the hunt's words, it wasn't hard to tell that the Hong Meng divine tree was one of the 8 most powerful beings in the Jiutian over the past tens of thousands of years. The god of the hunt continued, "Solipsistic, why are you looking for the Hong Meng divine tree?" Lu Chen let out a long breath. "I want to ask him about someone." "Who?" "My son's mother." Lu Chen said. The god of the hunt frowned slightly. So it's your wife. But if I were you, I'd better give up on this idea. No matter what Hong Meng does, no one has the right to change his mind. Lu Chen's gaze was firm as he said in a low voice, That's you. I don't care what Supreme Core God he is, you have to hand her over. The god of the hunt looked at Lu Chen in astonishment. The word, retreat, didn't seem to exist in this guy's dictionary. Even he, a god, felt ashamed of his inferiority in front of Lu Chen. Hong Meng has traveled through thousands of worlds. I really don't know where he is. I've already told you everything I know. Can you let me go now? The god of the hunt looked at Lu Chen anxiously. Lu Chen looked at the god of the hunt and suddenly asked, Other than the power of faith, do you gods have any other ways to improve your strength? Yes, the god of the hunt said. The god of the hunt said, The heavenly path divine power is one of the main combat powers of the gods. However, the power of faith can't be obtained overnight. It needs to be collected slowly, so we will also go to the divine cultivation world where spiritual energy is abundant to cultivate our spiritual energy. We will also look for opportunities in the various heaven-opening holy grounds or in some unknown space. In addition, we also go to outer space to train. The creatures in outer space are extremely terrifying. Even us gods have to travel together. Of course, among the treasures in outer space, there are some that are not restricted by Jutian. So no matter how dangerous it is, there are still people who go. Lu Chen looked at Rhubarb. Rhubarb, you're familiar with outer space. Do you think I can go there now? Rhubarb shook his head. The chaos outside is complicated and the forces are chaotic. Without the strength of a higher god, you can't go. Lu Chen nodded. It seemed like he still had to level up first. He looked at the god of the hunt and asked, How do I go to the divine cultivation world and Genesis holy grounds? The god of the hunt said, I'm a lower god. Lower gods can only go to the low-level divine cultivation world and Genesis holy grounds outside. As he spoke, the god of the hunt took out 2 talismans and handed them to Lu Chen. This is the divine travel talisman that I often go to in the divine cultivation world. After injecting spiritual energy, you can reach your destination in 3 days. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Could this guy be trusted? Rhubarb suddenly said, God of the hunt, give boss your god core miniature. If you dare to play any tricks, boss will destroy your god core directly. The god of the hunt hurriedly said, I really didn't lie to you. You being able to leave this world is already the best outcome for me. If I give you my god core miniature, won't I be under your control forever? Lu Chen said, You speak as if you have a choice. Aren't you under our control now? Little furball open, I'll give it to you. The god of the hunt hurriedly interrupted Lu Chen and said painfully, I'll give you my god core miniature. I just hope that after you're sure that I didn't lie to you, you can let me go. Chapter 1440. The god of the hunt handed his miniature god's core to Lu Chen. Lu Chen kept the miniature god's core and looked at the silent god of the hunt. How strong are you among the lower gods? I'm only a 2-star lower god. My strength is at the bottom, the god of the hunt said and dispersed the spirit chi mist on his badge. It said 2-star lower god. Lu Chen was a little disappointed. He didn't have much of an advantage against the god of the hunt, so his strength was around that of a 2 or 2-star lower god. Furball, the god of the hunt shuddered and looked at Furball in horror. Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. It seemed that the gods were more afraid of Furball. Furball, let's go. After taking a few steps, Lu Chen's voice sounded again. Be nice to your people, especially the White Wolf tribe, or be careful of your god's core. After saying that, Lu Chen disappeared into the forest with Furball. The god of the hunt only heaved a sigh of relief after Lu Chen left. This jinx was finally gone. The human sovereign realm has its own special power. The god of the hunt sighed. What is the limit of mortals? Could it be that he is even higher than us gods? Damn it, I've given the miniature god's core to that guy. I'll be under his control in the future. The god of the hunt looked at his broken right arm and was heartbroken. The sky-devouring, god-devouring rat can directly destroy the true body of a god. It seems that my right arm needs to grow out again, and it will take a lot of resources to regrow it. That guy had already defeated him, but he didn't take the opportunity to win over people's hearts. It seemed that he didn't lie to him. The power of the pinnacle of humanity didn't come from other people's faith. After taking a pill, the god of the hunt was about to leave when he suddenly remembered Lu Chen's words. Be nice to your people. Although Lu Chen had disrupted the ceremony this time, he didn't dare to give anything less to his people. The god of the hunt came to the collapsed altar and put some low-level medicine and techniques that he had reserved on the ground. The White Wolf tribe? We should pay more attention to the tribe that Solipsistic gave us special care. The miniature of the god's core was in Lu Chen's hands. The god of the hunt had no choice but to remember this name. He especially left an elixir for the White Wolf tribe. After doing all this, the god of hunt flew into the sky again and disappeared into the clouds. At this time, Lu Chen was already in the distant forest. Holding the two divine travel talisman, Lu Chen pondered for a moment, then took out the divine travel talisman from the god-refining world. His top priority right now was to raise his strength. At the same time, he had to find a place to cultivate God's descent, human Tao's pinnacle, and the other cultivation technique that Mu Xing had given him, Demon Abyss. Lu Chen called back the little beast and injected spiritual energy into the spirit travel talisman, instantly disappearing from the spot. The effect of the spirit travel talisman was very similar to the teleportation talisman. There was no obvious sense of dizziness. With a flash of white light, Lu Chen was already in the boundless sky. Although it was the sky, there was a huge teleportation gate in front of Lu Chen, suspended between heaven and earth. Outside the teleportation gate, there were two guards. When they saw Lu Chen, they didn't seem to find anything wrong. Lu Chen walked towards the teleportation gate cautiously. Suddenly, one of the guards said, "This is the teleportation gate of the lower god-refining world. You don't have enough godhood, so you can't enter." "Godhood?" Lu Chen asked in surprise. The guard looked at Lu Chen. "You just entered the 8th heaven?" Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, "Yes." The guard sighed softly. It seemed like another newcomer. The end of the immortal path is to gather Heavenly Tao's power. Godhood is the level of Heavenly Tao's power. When enough Heavenly Tao's power is gathered, the godhood can be upgraded. The 8th heaven is not the 7th heaven. Don't think that you're a god just because you entered the 8th heaven. Hurry up and find an ownerless world to obtain the power of faith. Don't loiter around here. Lu Chen looked at the two of them. The badges on their chests didn't have any spirit chi fog. It showed that they were lower god level. One was 5 stars and the other was 6 stars. Maybe they were in charge of guarding the teleportation gate and needed to display their level to deter other gods. In the past, true immortals and loose immortals could tell that he didn't open the immortal path. But at the 8th heaven, they couldn't tell that Lu Chen didn't open the immortal path. Could it be that after gathering Heavenly Tao's power, the immortal path no longer existed? So even the gods couldn't tell if Lu Chen was a celestial supremacy. But the god of the hunt recognized him based on his blood. Since the other party didn't recognize him, Lu Chen naturally wouldn't take the initiative to tell them. These two guards were much stronger than the god of the hunt. He couldn't force his way in. For gods, after becoming a celestial supremacy, they needed the power of faith. After breaking through to lower god level, they could continue to level up. And Lu Chen couldn't become a god. Unless there were other ways, he couldn't enter the god-refining world. Lu Chen frowned. Is there no other way to enter the god-refining world to cultivate? The guard looked at Lu Chen impatiently and said, "There is." 10 years later, lower gods below 5 stars from the nearby 3,000 god domains will fight for 100 years of cultivation time in this god-refining world. If you have the ability to win, you will have the right to enter. Moreover, you don't need to pay the power of faith. The guard looked at Lu Chen with contempt. "But do you have the ability? Don't talk about 10 years. Even if I give you 300 years, you won't have the chance. Scram. If you don't scram, don't blame us for being impolite." Lu Chen narrowed his eyes. It seemed like he couldn't enter the God-refining world for the time being. These two were strong. It was better to retreat first. Then there was only one choice left. Lu Chen activated another spirit travel talisman. In an instant, Lu Chen arrived in a small town. Just as he appeared, Lu Chen saw the passers-by and immediately became alert. This was not the White Wolf tribe. The people who lived here were at least immortal reverends. Moreover, they were immortal reverends who had the qualifications to enter the god domain. Moreover, there seemed to be no lack of gods here. It was just that the feeling they gave off was not as strong as the two guards at the entrance of the god-refining world. They were about the same as the god of the hunt. However, from time to time, there would be heavily injured people being carried in from outside the town. Just as Lu Chen was observing his surroundings, a white-clothed woman with a human appearance walked over. "Hey, I say, did you just come to the 8th layer of heaven?" Lu Chen turned around and looked at her strangely. "That's right. Miss, is there something you need?" "I'm not a miss. I'm from the undead race." With that, an illusion of a skeleton appeared on the woman's beautiful face. Seeing this, Lu Chen couldn't help but shiver. Fortunately, the illusion only flashed by and the woman quickly returned to her original appearance. "The human appearance is indeed the most popular." The woman snorted. "What race are you from to transform into a human appearance? Why can't I see it?" Lu Chen blinked his eyes. "I'm from the human race." "Human race? Don't joke around. No one from the human race has come up here for thousands of years. Forget it. No matter what race you are, I'm not interested. Our group is short of a reserve member. We're about to enter the splitting heaven holy land. Do you want to join? A team of 3. Including you, there's a total of 4 people. I can give you 1/10 of the spoils." Lu Chen thought for a moment. Even those super strong immortal reverends and lower gods had returned with heavy injuries. This splitting heaven holy land was probably not simple. It wouldn't be bad to join them first. "All right." Lu Chen smiled slightly. Chapter 1441. The heaven-splitting Holy Land was said to be an empty space left behind by a powerful being when the Jiutian was first formed. The creatures here were not divine beasts, but they were all super-powerful creatures born from the primal chaos. They were extremely powerful and boundless. Moreover, there were still unexplored areas in the heaven-splitting Holy Land, but their luck was unknown. Some people found opportunities there, while others met with misfortune. And to the gods of the 8th heaven, this place was extremely valuable and could become a place for them to gain experience. Due to the fact that the creatures in the heaven-splitting Holy Land were too powerful, lesser gods below 5-star would only train in the outer regions of the heaven-splitting Holy Land. This town was the passage to the outer regions of the heaven-splitting Holy Land. The woman's teammates were 2 handsome men. From their conversation, they seemed to be from the undead race and had been training here for some time. "White Bones, why did you find an immortal venerable?" The slightly taller man glanced at Lu Chen, somewhat dissatisfied. "We are all 2-star lesser gods. Why didn't you find a 1-star lesser god?" White Bones said, "Withered Claw, just put up with it. Unless we meet a team that is completely wiped out, where else can we find a 1-star lesser god? It's rare for us to meet a newcomer in the 8th heaven. We're already quite lucky to have met one." The other man frowned and looked at Lu Chen, coldly saying, "Hey, last time, that newcomer didn't listen to our orders and fell into the primal chaos beast's nest. I don't care how mighty you were in the 7th heaven, you better listen to us here. If you don't listen to our orders and encounter danger, we won't help." From their conversation, Lu Chen learned that this man was called Yu Ming and was the leader of the team. Lu Chen asked, "Then what if I listen to your orders and encounter danger? Will you help me?" The man was stunned and couldn't help but look at Lu Chen again. "Don't worry. When the team fights, we have to be disloyal or we'll all be wiped out." Lu Chen smiled slightly. He listened for now. As for whether he believed it or not, that would depend on how they would deal with the real danger. "What's your main occupation?" White Bones asked. Lu Chen thought for a moment. "Divine archery." "Divine archer? Although you're not that strong, it's not a bad idea to shoot arrows from behind us to make up for the damage. It's decided, then. Let's go in, Netherworld said. Looking at the 3 undead gods walking in front of him, Lu Chen felt a little disappointed. The undead could form a group, but he was alone. If his good friends could accompany him, the trip to the splitting heaven Holy Land would definitely be much more interesting. Unfortunately, there were many deities in human skin here, especially those demons and ghosts. They had strange appearances and preferred to transform into human appearances. However, there was only one true human, Lu Chen. Not far ahead, 7 or 8 black hole teleportation portals appeared, with guards standing in front of them. Netherworld brought White Bones, Withered Claw, and Lu Chen to the entrance of the second black hole. Lu Chen noticed that Yuming took out a black spirit core and handed it to the guard. Then the guard let them pass. "What's that?" Lu Chen asked in a low voice. White Bones explained, "A chaos core, similar to a divine beast or devil beast's beast core. However, chaos beasts are born with it. After absorbing chaos spiritual energy, the chaos core will gradually grow stronger, and they will also become stronger." Chaos spiritual energy? Lu Chen exclaimed inwardly. His spirit core was a chaos spirit core. He wondered if he could use the chaos spiritual energy here in the splitting heaven Holy Land. Netherworld had already entered the black hole, and Lu Chen followed behind his 3 companions. After a moment of dizziness, Lu Chen opened his eyes and felt incomparably comfortable. His surroundings were pitch black, but the chaos spiritual energy in the air gave Lu Chen a very familiar feeling. This chaos spiritual energy was compatible with Lu Chen's chaos spirit core. Not far away, there were many moving lights of various colors. He could vaguely see that these lights were other teams moving around. Netherworld took out a green bead and floated above the team's head, illuminating the surrounding 100 meters. "Be careful. Don't think that chaos beasts won't ambush us just because there are other teams around." Netherworld said solemnly, "Be especially careful underground. This is the starting ground. Spiritual energy cannot penetrate, so there is no way to determine if there are chaos beasts around." Lu Chen glanced at his feet. The ground was incomparably hard, and he didn't know what material it was made of. "Let's go. Newcomer, follow closely." The team slowly explored the depths of the darkness. Suddenly, not far away from Lu Chen's group, one of the teams was ambushed. One of them screamed as he was directly dragged underground. Seeing this, the other team members immediately left their positions to avoid being dragged away by the chaos beasts. Lu Chen frowned. Judging from the others' reactions, if he was really ambushed, these 3 undead spirits might not really help him. He had to be careful. As they continued to go deeper, this team gradually moved further away from the other teams. There were almost no flickering lights in front of them. At this moment, Lu Chen suddenly understood why these people wanted to team up. Not only were the chaos beasts strong, but the feeling of exploring in the dark was enough to make one break down. Lu Chen's team was quite lucky. At least they didn't meet any chaos beasts that came out of the starting ground to ambush them. After walking for a while, Netherworld suddenly stopped and whispered, "Be careful, there is a target in front. It is about 3 stars. Withered Claw, check the surroundings." "Okay." After Withered Claw finished speaking, he turned into a black fog and spread out. In less than 30 seconds, a ball of black fog instantly condensed in front of Lu Chen and turned into Withered Claw again. "There is only one chaos beast." Netherworld nodded. White Bones set up the formation. White Bones' sleeves fluttered, and 2 hand bones stretched out from under his ribs and quickly extended outwards. When Lu Chen saw these 2 people's moves, he was speechless. Indeed, appearances were all lies. Netherworld, the White Bones heaven ceiling formation has been set up. Netherworld nodded. "Alright, a 3-star chaos beast is a little difficult for us. However, it is not impossible to kill it. As long as we cooperate well, there will be no danger." After saying that, the green pearl above his head suddenly rose high into the sky and lit up a few thousand meters around him. As for the black beast that was resting a few hundred meters away, Once it noticed the large area of light, it quickly opened its eyes and looked in their direction. This fellow slowly stood up. Its black body was hard to distinguish against the black background. However, with the help of the green pearl's light, one could vaguely make out its figure. The chaos beast did not look like any kind of divine beast. Its body was very muscular, and its hind legs were very powerful. Its arms held a metal rod and were already charging towards them. Newcomers, just heal the damage later, Netherworld said softly. Then he quickly activated Whitebone's king state. Withered Claw once again turned into smoke and hid in the battlefield. Whitebones held a single sword and stood behind Netherworld, waiting for the battle. With a furious roar, the Chaos Beast flashed from a few thousand meters away and directly appeared in front of the team. It raised its arm high and was about to smash it down heavily. At the moment when the Chaos Beast attacked, Lu Chen carefully checked the circulation of its spiritual power. This fellow's Chaos Core was indeed similar to his Chaos Spirit Core. Lu Chen even suspected that if he could cultivate here, his progress would be even more exaggerated than in the God refinement world. Chapter 1442. In this team, the Netherlord was defending, Withered Claw was scouting and attacking, and Whitebones was a necromancer attacking. The Chaos Beast's arms smashed downwards. Netherlord shouted, "Godly technique, 100 bones regeneration." Netherlord quickly revealed his true form. He was more than 5 meters tall, and his body was covered with layers of exoskeleton armor. The Chaos Beast has already locked onto me. I can't dodge. Attack with all your might. Netherlord shouted. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Was the Chaos Beast's attack similar to Furball's? Once locked onto, the opponent would have nowhere to hide? The Chaos Beast's attack had already landed. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind swept through the air. Countless bones on Netherlord's body were shattered. Even Netherlord's true form was shaken by the huge pressure and spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, Whitebones and Withered Claw attacked at the same time. Godly technique, Vengeful Spirit's Knight, Soul Blade. Withered Claw transformed into a huge black blade and slashed at the Chaos Beast's back. Godly technique, Ghostly Fire Bones, Evil Break. Whitebones used green ghost fire to burn the Chaos Beast. These two people's attacks had extremely strong elemental attacks. They were dark and fire elemental. However, the Chaos Beast was not killed in one hit. Every time it was attacked, a black shield would appear on the Chaos Beast's body to block most of the damage. The Chaos Beast was able to withstand the combined attacks of two lower gods? Lu Chen could not help but sigh. There were such strong creatures in the Jutian. Hey, what are you doing? At least provide some damage. Whitebones saw Lu Chen, who was in a daze, and said anxiously, Netherlord can take at most 5 rounds of attacks. Withered Claw and I cannot kill him in 5 moves. That's why we found help. Use your strongest attack, quick. Withered Claw and Whitebone's attacks forced the Chaos Beast to retreat, giving Netherlord a chance to breathe. However, it was only for a moment. The Chaos Beast got up and pounced on Netherlord again. Netherlord was also furious. He shouted angrily, "Are you done?" Netherlord, don't be rash. Defend with all your might. Whitebones shouted. Whitebones meant that if Netherlord attacked the Chaos Beast, he would be in a very dangerous situation. To be able to make 3 2-star lesser gods so nervous, one could see how terrifying the Chaos Beast's abilities were. Now, Lu Chen had a rough understanding of the Chaos Beast's abilities. He was just a step away. Lu Chen wanted to see how much damage his attack would do to the Chaos Beast. The battle was getting more and more intense. The Chaos Beast's second attack was about to arrive. Lu Chen took out his God-fiend Limitless Sword. However, the Limitless Sword had already transformed into a black bow. Using his spiritual energy as an arrow, Lu Chen stepped on the universe as he circulated his Chaos Spirit Core, giving up on the ice and fire elements. Chaos nurtured all things and could not be countered by any element. However, against another type of chaos attack, at least it did not have any additional defense. When White Bones saw Lu Chen draw his bow, his eyebrows were almost knitted together. Both of them were at the divine level, yet this guy shot out such an ordinary arrow? It seemed to be some kind of low-level skill from the mortal world. In such an urgent situation, he actually dared to slack off so blatantly? What kind of person had she found? You! At that moment, Lu Chen shouted in a low voice, "The strongest bow!" A black arrow pierced through the air. Everywhere it passed, the spirit chi shook. With a boom, the arrow traveled 100 meters and hit the Chaos Beast hard. The Chaos Beast's spirit shield had just formed, but Lu Chen's arrow completely ignored the Chaos Beast's spirit shield. It went through the spirit shield and hit the Chaos Beast's back, which was as sturdy as a small mountain. Roar! The Chaos Beast was in pain. Even its attack on Netherworld missed. Seeing this scene, White Bones was shocked. What? Such a trashy skill can break through its defense. Is this a divine skill? Withered Claw also saw this arrow. What is going on? Why is the Chaos Spirit Shield completely useless against this arrow? Netherworld shouted, "Good arrow. Quick, break the shield now and kill it." White Bones and Withered Claw hurriedly retracted their divine senses and attacked together. Netherworld also grabbed this rare opportunity. He gave up on his defense completely. His right arm transformed into a huge ghost claw and stabbed it into the Chaos Beast's heart. Hand over the core. Divine skill, Realm Breaker Ghost King. Evil Spirit steals heart. The Chaos Beast's spirit shield was broken, and it was heavily injured 3 more times. It instantly lost its defensive ability. Netherworld's claw pierced through its body and took away its chaos core. The battle ended early in the second round. The 3 lower gods were very relaxed. Netherworld took a chaos core and returned to the 3 of them. Great, we killed a chaos beast so quickly. At this speed, we can still kill 2 more before resting. After Netherworld finished speaking, he looked at Lu Chen. Kid, I didn't expect you to have a technique that specifically counters chaos beasts. Withered Claw revealed a rare smile. I have never heard of a technique that specifically counters chaos beasts. We actually encountered one today. Netherworld patted Lu Chen's shoulder. Kid, your title is Divine Demon. Lu Chen smiled. Divine Demon. Everyone was stunned. Divine Demon? Both divine and demon. This is the first time I have heard of such a title. Forget it. Anyway, you guys will follow our team from now on. White Bones, how much did you agree to give him? 1/10. 1/10 is too little. In the future, you will be like us. 1/4 each. Netherworld was straightforward. Lu Chen thought about it and said, this time, I will accompany you to hunt chaos beasts. However, after we go out, I will not form a team anymore. Do you think our team is not strong enough? Withered Claw said anxiously. Our team's strength is very average, and we have a lot of experience. If you join a stronger team, they will not give you such a high share. Lu Chen shook his head. It has nothing to do with your strength. I have other things to do. After the test just now, Lu Chen was sure that he was not afraid of chaos beasts. He could go deep into the splitting heavens holy land. However, these undead were only strong enough to hunt outside. They could not explore deeper with Lu Chen. Withered Claw wanted to say something more, but Netherworld stopped him. Brother Godfiend, if you want to leave, we will not force you. This is my 10,000 world sound transmission talisman. If you want to find someone to enter the splitting heavens holy land with next time, you can look for me. As he said that, Netherworld handed a golden sound transmission talisman to Lu Chen. Lu Chen nodded. I will accompany you to kill another 50 chaos beasts. I will not take a single share. Take it as a thank you for bringing me to the splitting heavens holy land. With Lu Chen as a strong helper, the team's hunting speed was very fast. However, this team was still very stable. Every time they hunted, they did not just use the defensive array. They only attacked one chaos beast. Of course, the main reason was that they did not know that Lu Chen was still hiding his strength. On the first day, they hunted 12 chaos beasts. However, Netherworld and the other 2 had consumed a lot of energy. After hunting, They had to set up camp in the defensive array to recover their strength. Lu Chen did not consume much energy. He did not want to cultivate in front of outsiders, so he sat there and warmed himself up by the fire. Suddenly, a white figure sat beside Lu Chen. Netherworld and Withered Claw were sitting cross-legged to recover their spirit energy. Bai Gu, on the other hand, had already recovered. "Hey, you said that your title is God Fiend?" "I suddenly thought of someone," Bai Gu said. Lu Chen frowned slightly and asked tentatively, "Who?" "God Fiend Human Emperor, Solipsistic." Lu Chen immediately became alert and looked at Bai Gu. Chapter 1443. White Bones smiled faintly. It did not seem to have any hostility. If one did not consider that her body was just a skeleton, White Bones' current appearance was really a bit dazzling. "Looks like it's really you?" White Bones smiled and looked at Lu Chen. Lu Chen observed White Bones for a moment. Seeing that the other party did not take any action, she did not even release her spiritual energy. She did not have any thoughts of defending against Lu Chen. Finally, Lu Chen also let down his guard and said, "Yes, it's me. But how come so many of you know about me?" Bai Gu finally got a positive answer. Her eyes slightly brightened and she smiled. 9 regions path to heaven, immortal defying the heavens. As deities, how could we not know that such a character like you has appeared in the mortal world? But I did not expect that this time, by chance, I would actually travel with you. Your real name is Lu Chen, right? I heard people talk about it. Lu Chen nodded. Solipsistic is a name I casually picked when I entered Jiotian. Casually picked? In my opinion, this name is very suitable for you, immortal defying the heavens. I have never seen anyone more arrogant than you. White Bones was actually very interested in Lu Chen, asking all kinds of questions. No matter what White Bones' real body was, at least in her current appearance, she was indeed a perfect beauty. What was interesting was her curious look. It made Lu Chen feel that she was very similar to the girl he met before. Is White Bones your title? Then what is your original immortal name, or ID? In fact, most of the gods' titles are not that domineering. My original name was Bone Demon, but after reaching the 8th layer of heaven, the title will be more recognizable and the gods will call each other by their titles. Lu Chen nodded. Then, why can the bones in your body extend? Is your body like this? Or is it the effect of a special cultivation technique? You mean this? White Bones stretched out a white arm. Suddenly, the delicate skin disappeared, and Lu Chen became a white bone. This is one of the 3 great talents of our undead race. There are undead that can control souls, like Withered Claw. There are also undead like me and Netherworld. Their bones are filled with spiritual energy, and their bones can change according to their consciousness. There are also those who control undead. Their lineage mainly cultivates puppet techniques and spirit controllers. As it spoke, White Bones demonstrated its bone elongation ability to Lu Chen. Look at my bones, they can stretch very long. The defensive power of these bones is very strong, and they have a very sensitive sense of touch. When the bones break, they can reduce a large part of the force. Lu Chen was speechless as he looked at the woman playing with his arm bones. Could he still have a proper conversation? Impressive, impressive. Well, it's better to put it away. Don't waste your spiritual energy. White Bones put away the hand bone, looked at Lu Chen, and was a little embarrassed. Do you think our undead race is disgusting? Our undead race is very special. Our initial physical body will inevitably be destroyed when we pass the tribulation to become immortals. But because of this, the undead race is not afraid of heavenly tribulation, and the worldly ties that you abandon will gradually form after we become immortals. It's just that at this time, we no longer have the so-called relatives and friends. No. Lu Chen immediately said, I have friends in many other races and my tolerance is quite good. White Bones sighed. You don't have to explain, we are actually used to it. Even when it comes to obtaining the power of faith, it's the same. Except for the undead world, there are not many people in the world who are willing to believe in gods like us. Although we have tried our best to protect them, they still can only accept the gods they are willing to accept. Lu Chen suddenly felt that although he envied the strength of the undead race before, they also had their own troubles. Actually, when he thought about it, it made sense. Some people believed in gods, and some even believed in demons, but who would believe in a pile of bones? Then how do you obtain the power of faith? Lu Chen asked curiously. We don't show our images to others, but this way, the speed at which we obtain the power of faith is far slower than others, White Bones said. That's why we have been here for a long time, using the Chaos Core to exchange for the power of faith. Actually, it doesn't matter if we are gods or not, as long as we are not the strongest one, there will always be a lot of helplessness. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. This was the first time he really understood the undead race. After chatting with White Bones for so long, Lu Chen's biggest feeling was that these high and mighty gods did not really control everything. They could control the fate of mortals, but they could not control their own. White Bones gave his myriad world voice transmission talisman to Lu Chen. In the divine territory, you need your own allies. You are a human, so you should have no other race. If you need any help, you can come to me. Later, Netherworld and Withered Claw had already woken up, and the team continued to hunt. White Bones' special care for Lu Chen became more and more obvious. Even Lu Chen could feel some of the concern that surpassed that of a teammate. It was just that Lu Chen was really feeling a lot of pressure. Although he did not discriminate against the undead race, at least these 3 undead races were the gods that he had met in the divine territory who were more friendly to him. However, he could accept some races, but there were some that he really could not accept. 4 days later, Lu Chen fulfilled his promise and helped the team to kill 50 chaos beasts. Netherworld and the rest returned to the place where they had set off. Netherworld asked, God Fiend, are you going out with us? Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. I won't be going out for the time being. Netherworld nodded and did not ask any more questions. Alright, then we will part ways here. Be careful when you are alone. If you want to find a team in the future, we will welcome you at any time. Withered Claw gave his voice transmission talisman to Lu Chen. The 3 of us often move together. The undead race does not control many worlds, so the 3 of us share a world of faith. If you have time, you can come to our world for a spin. Lu Chen took the voice transmission talisman and cupped his fists. Many thanks. I hope there will be such an opportunity. After saying that, Lu Chen turned and walked back into the darkness. Netherworld looked at the silent White Bones and sighed. White Bones, don't think about it. He will not like you. Withered Claw also said, it is said that the God-fiend human emperor has never cut off his mortal bonds. However, White Bones, you have to understand that this means that he is more similar to us, but it also means that he has never let go of his thoughts. The undead race and the human race are separated by life and death in the end. The 2 of them accompanied the disappointed White Bones and finally walked out of the heaven-splitting Holy Land. Lu Chen called out Little Critter, Little Furball, Rhubarb, Little Golden Carp, and Little Originator. They entered the heaven-splitting Holy Land together. The team was led by Little Golden Carp. Although her method of searching for treasures was a bit strange, Fangzheng was in the heaven-splitting Holy Land, so it was the same no matter where they went. Little Critter walked beside Lu Chen. Dad, that undead woman already said that she likes you. Why didn't you accept her? Lu Chen held his forehead. Little Critter was still worried about his marriage. Rhubarb suddenly said indifferently, it can't be done. The undead race's reproduction method is different from humans. Little Critter was unconvinced. Mu Sheng and Dad can do it. Why can't you do it when it comes to undead? I don't believe it. Wait for me to get to know an undead girl and make a bone dragon for you to see. Lu Chen held his forehead. Little Critter had really grown up, and his ambition was also growing bigger. At this rate, his grandchildren would be spread across all races. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.